Let's share this to Discord real quick. Okay, add to story. There we go. We are just going to add one item to the TikTok shop. Where is it? Welcome in, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope you are all having a wonderful day. I am getting everything set up and ready to go. We are having Michael Potter join us. He is in Indiana. He is running for their House of Representatives, District 47. Where is it? There it is. Because I has that on my face. Welcome in, everyone. Hi, guys. I know, Wednesday, during the day. They're almost to the point where I can do an under trim or an undercut to them and trim them up just nice so they occur like that. Welcome in, everyone. I hope you're having a good Wednesday. I am waiting on Michael Potter to join me. He is running for the Indiana Congress, District 47. And while I'm waiting, let's send this to you, and 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 maybe not you, and you, and you, and you. Sorry, I'm sharing the live with some of my friends real quick. Interviewing Michael Potter for C-D47. There we go. Hey, Michael. Let us invite you up. There we go. Hi, Yuov. How are you doing, my friend? Hello, hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We don't have video, but we do have audio.
Oh, well, what's going on with the video?
Are you on your phone or computer?
I'm on my phone.
Okay. Then that should make it a lot easier. It's just one of the settings along the bottom. How to fix it, I don't know, but I know that like Ethan and Peter and like 3 other people have had this issue.
Let's see. Take my phone down here.
Okay, well, you do that. I'm going to roll my back out real quick, so give me 30 seconds. And yes, when I say roll my back out, I quite literally mean using a foam roller to roll it out.
I'm all for foam rolling.
I love my foam roller. everything realigned. Hey, kids, baby. Welcome in, everyone. I'm making my cup of tea real quick while he figures out his camera, and then we will get going. And worst case scenario, I do have a tablet I can look it up on.
Might be worth leaving and trying again. I don't have a good answer. I had this problem with Ethan once, and I couldn't.
Hey, Shannon,
Okay. Yes.
I'm gonna try exiting and then come and maybe invite me
Yep.
back in.
Yep. Try doing that. Let's see if that works.
The whole TikTok app out, and then.
Okay, so we are going to have him rejoin in just a minute. Welcome in, everyone. Hello, hello. So we have Michael Potter joining us. He is from Indiana. He is running for their Congress District 47. Welcome in, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for the follow. Making sure I didn't miss anybody while I was making my cup of tea real quick. Hi, everyone. Welcome in. I hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you for the follow, user. Welcome in, everyone. Okay, today Tamagami #1 and Super Saiyan 3 Goku Mini from Dayama finally got added to Dragon Ball Legends as a sparkling and legend rarity character use. Oh, that's awesome, you off. So, what do you have to do in order to get them, or do you automatically have them? Personally, I have been playing a lot of my Switch. I bought the Dragon Quest VII Remake. Turns out, I played the game once upon a time. I never beat it. I never got the 4th character. Shame on me. Welcome in, everyone. Ah, itchy nose. Let me go grab this. So we have a gangster kitty joining us on the couch. And then Quetzalcoatl is currently over there nomming on food. 2 and 3 still need to get #1, but can get them for free through something called Hoi Poi Summons. Okay, let's try this again.
That's a start.
One step closer.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah, babe.
There we go. We have a face.
We have a face.
You have a face. Okay, let's get this all situated. I've only had this stand for like 2 months now. Still getting used to it. Hi, Alexis. Welcome in. Welcome in, Maximus. So I have Michael Potter in. He is from Indiana. He is running for their congressional, so that's the House of Representatives, District 47. So what we're doing is we have him on to talk about him, talk about what he's doing, why he's running, what his platform is, get his take on some of the current events that are going on, and hear from him what he's heard back from the constituents in his area. So a lot of us, I know Americans are really bad about voting in primaries. How do I know this? I've been doing my research. So that the average person, about 53% of them, turn out during midterms to vote for their representatives on the state level. That is your Congress, that's your Senate, that's your state secretary, that's all of those things. So barely half of Americans who are legal voting age actually go out and vote. During the presidential election, it's about a third of people don't go out and vote. So this is to kind of help people to understand that there are representatives on the state level who are fighting for you, fighting for your rights, who want better for all of us, not just for a small handful of people, and are trying to do the right thing the right way. They're campaigning the right way. They're going clean. They're not taking big donor money. They're trying to actually hear from the people what the people want and then do that. We've gotten into a place where we have politicians across the board, and there's a difference between representatives and politicians. Representatives are more of those grassroots, down to earth, there for the constituents, are actually representing the people in their districts, in their states. Politicians are there for the corporations. They're there to line their pockets, and they're there to make the corporations more wealthy. That is the difference. We have politicians in place in Congress, in the Senate, and we need to change that. So the best way to go about changing that is to start changing it on the state level. That's where we start talking about the districts, the Senate, all of those things for the House. Who can help us? What can they do? What area are they in? And how are they going to impact us going forwards? Because I know a lot of us are tired. I don't know about you, but I'm freaking exhausted. I'm 41, and I'm tired of waking up just as tired as I was when I went to bed. Not because I'm not getting sleep, I'm getting some, but there's a lot of noise pollution going on that's going to get even worse, and that's going to disrupt people's sleep. And that goes hand in hand with the data centers. So that's one of the topics we're going to talk about today. Housing and affordability is another topic I know is key for Hoosiers. I'm not sure how many people are aware that a lot of the utilities have been bought up and are now being owned by umbrella or sister companies of BlackRock. And then the war on Iran, the Epstein files, and then a few other things, such as, well, the U.S. Treasury declared us insolvent. Yeah, let's talk about that one. What's that mean? Yeah. So yeah, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do as your career or job? Are you still working while you're campaigning, or are you campaigning full time?
I am still working while I campaign, and thank you for having me on.
Of course.
Everything you just said is exactly why I'm running. A pretty average guy. I've been living in Indiana my whole life. Moved here when I was 2. Went to public high school here, and just and I suppose everybody, the politicians, start out as the same way, and then I guess maybe being in the system corrupts their thoughts. I'm sure, and I know there are some that are career or family lineage politicians, and I think they start out with bad intentions right off the bat. I think, so it seems. I've been in Indiana for I'm 51, so 49 years, and it just got to be a point where we're seeing the same thing over and over. We're hearing the same thing particularly in the suburbs and rural Indiana, is that it's a red state. You can't win. my wife ran for a local town council seat, and we immediately learned about how the clause come out. She's a small business owner in this very small town, and immediately upon declaring she was running for this, one of five seats in the town council that was 5 of 5 Republican. So, for everyone involved, really having some sort of give and take on a town council, in a Congress, whatever, some sort of debate, I think is good for the citizens of that area, whether it's the town, the state, the United States, or whatever. To have a full on supermajority just kind of starts making everything linear. There's no debate, there's no questions. Corruption can reside in those spaces because nobody's going to call anybody out. And so, um, I saw what we went through with that town council race and the way they were behaving, and I didn't like it. It was kind of what you hear about stereotypically, but again, moving back to this area where I grew up, and we live right in the little downtown area, so I can walk 4 properties down to the town hall.
Right.
And and the clause just came out against a local business owner who the town council, came and did the ribbon cutting and all that. But they started talking badly about the business after she'd been here at that point 2, 3, 4 years, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you talking bad about one of your own businesses in your town? And then we know why. They're being politicians, and they weren't being. I like how you talked about that. Politics,
Yep.
A popularity contest versus governance, which is the job once we get elected. And I feel like, and it's on my card and in my literature, is it's time for politicians or for our government to work for the people of the state, and that's really what I want to do. I want to go in and I want to work, and maybe do it for a term or 2 or 3, which would be 2, 4, 6 years, and that's about it. I don't plan on staying forever. Maybe I'll move on to another office, but really I want to get in, do some work for the people of the state of Indiana, who I know are suffering. They continue to focus on the upper 1%. How do we give them tax breaks? How do we give corporations tax breaks? And if anyone gets in our way, we're going to just take things away from them to make it more painful, harder to vote. And we want to keep our power. And the power is with the people. And you talked about voting. We got to get people to the polls. And in Indiana, so we get if you can sign up and you can pay to get some software, some apps to help with your canvassing and whatnot. You can just really find out who are like strong Democrats and strong Republicans, and really you only know, like, can really pull out the two polarizing ends. Anybody in between is sort of is pretty vague. I mean, they use some analytics from data they can buy from credit card companies or wherever they buy data to sort of be like, oh, they purchase. Well, they purchased sign making contents and blue ribbons, and they've never bought a MAGA hat, so okay, they must be a Democrat, right? And they rank them, and then you can see that you can't see how somebody voted in a primary, but you can see if they voted in a Democratic primary or a Republican primary. And so that's really how you kind of get those polarizing ends. And then they use the other data for the middle. Anyway, so I can look in there and I can be like, we hear it all the time. We knock on the door. Oh, you better be careful out there as a Democrat. Nobody around here knows that I'm a Democrat. I'm like, well, you might want to talk to your neighbors on both sides of you and across the street because they all voted in a Democratic primary the last time. and they're like, "What?" They're more like, I'll kind of show them my screen. I'm like, there are thousands in this area that have voted in the Democratic primary.
Yeah,
We're
there's a
just
lot of
not
jobs for
speaking up.
people to realize. Well, and that's just it. It's a lot of people are quiet because we find that a lot of wives are blue, but their husbands are red. They just aren't vocal about the fact that I don't vote the same way my husband does because I don't believe in those policies.
Yep.
It's like, ladies, why are you still with them then? Because they're voting against your best interest.
Yeah, and when
Really?
we canvass, a lot of times we'll say, we'll knock on the door, and either a parent will enter or answer the door, or the husband or the wife, and you're like, "Well, can I speak to your wife, or can I speak to your son or daughter?" No, they don't want it. They don't want to talk to you as a
Right.
Democrat. Like, and you want to be like, "Well, y'all might want to have a conversation because they voted in the Democratic primary last." Of course, you don't want to throw them under the bus. That's one
Right.
sure way to get them to not vote for you, is that you go to their house and start calling them out. So
Yep.
you can
So,
just, I'll usually just say, "Well, I see you have some other voters in your house. May
mhm.
I speak to them?" And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they're like, "No, we're not interested." It's pretty tough. I mean, cold calling or cold knocking.
Well,
The
and
one thing,
unfortunately, there's a lot of people who aren't receptive to it because nobody likes anybody knocking on the door saying, "Do you have time?" I'm just like,
nope.
"No, no, I don't. Thank you very much. You're interrupting my binging fest. Please go away now."
Right. If I do have time, it's certainly not to speak with you.
Exactly.
Um, so, yeah. So there are there's so many more. Every time I look in the database or just go out and talk to people, they show up at our county headquarters. Um, there's so many Democrats, and
There are.
if
And
there's
a
any
lot of them
message
are
to take
quiet.
away from this is speak up, and
Yep.
be proud.
Mhm.
There's nothing to hide from. We have a good platform as a party. Are there individuals that we don't agree with? Yep. It's a big party that really
Right.
spans from middle of the road Republicans to progressive or socialist Democrats, right?
Mhm.
Because those moderate Republicans have no home in the MAGA party, and they're really trying to separate themselves. So we have to accommodate and be willing to listen and work with. Well, we have to work with everyone if we get
Well, it's been one
elected,
of those
but
that's willing to let people deconstruct from that mindset that they kind of allowed themselves to be in. Because I see a lot of people who are former MAGA going, "I was wrong. Please give me some time. I screwed up." And it's like, that, you know what? That's all we're looking for is you're taking accountability for your actions and your choice and your vote. And you're admitting you screwed up and you're asking for help moving forward and asking, what can I do to help fix the situation I helped to create?
yeah. And
Yes, that's fine. Sorry, my daughter had a question.
yeah, well, I'll probably have visitors as well. So,
No, I get it. I get two kids. Is that Blythe? Was that Blythe in the background?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I'm like, I thought that was Blythe's voice, and when she said Ethan, I'm like, I think I know who his wife is.
Yeah,
So we
that's
do
my
have a few
wife,
questions.
Secretary of State for the
Mhm.
candidate for the Democratic Party. Uh,
Still trying to get her on.
is she
She is busy,
scheduled
I know.
with you, or yeah,
No,
working on
she
the
hasn't
scheduling?
scheduled. So I'm waiting for her to text me back.
Yeah,
So at
all
that
right.
point, we get her on. But we
She's
have a few questions. Go ahead.
she's crazy busy.
Oh, I know she is. That's why I'm like, I will let her know, like I did with Ethan. Hey, I have dates open on these dates still. Most of my April's booked. So if you
Yeah,
want in, snag it.
yeah.
So
We
Mia
want
has
to
a question. Go ahead.
go ahead.
So she's going, knowing how Indian taxes have increased and have been claimed to be better, and have been claimed to better communities without much evidence. Do you have a plan to fix that issue? Okay, so what she's saying is Indiana taxes have increased, state taxes have increased, sales taxes have increased, all these things have increased in order to quote unquote better the communities, but they've not seen any betterment in the communities. Do you have a plan to fix that issue?
Well, my specialty, and you did ask me about my day job and what I do, and I am working. I'm an environmental scientist, so a lot of things come from that lens of the environment and taking care of the environment. I am not a tax accountant or anything like that. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm an environmentalist. My son can give you a 30-minute conversation or spiel on how to save the bees and why we need to. Because we go just environmentalist way too many times. So when you said that, I'm like, so he gets it. When I talk about the EPA and the air quality, he's not going to put me on that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I was an air quality like specialist for 8 years. For if there were like big spills, pipelines, train wrecks, I would show up to those, and we would run the air monitoring for the community and for the workers to make sure that they're not exposed. Anyway, so back to the taxes. This is really where I came from with the government needs to get back to working for the people. Is the tax money is completely wasted. It goes to pet projects. It goes to like overruns of budgets on pet projects, and they're just not, for a group that runs on fiscal conservatism, and their voters think they're voting for fiscal conservatism. At least Trump can show like there's nothing conservative about this guy's spending, and there never has been. So it's not like he's gone out of character. He's always screwed up his own money and his own hotels and his own businesses, and now he's doing it to the country. And he's not able to even claim bankruptcy. What's he going to do? Like, oh, country's bankrupt. Forgive my debts. Like, it doesn't work that way. Run it like a business. It doesn't work that way.
That's where that ties into the fact that the U.S. Treasury just declared the U.S. insolvent because we have $6 trillion in assets, but as of earlier this week, we were 48.5 plus trillion in debt.
Yeah.
And he added 2.5 trillion to that debt last year alone.
Yeah, and now we're in the war, spending money like it's water, which I say that water's getting pretty expensive too.
Like just grabbing all the candy off the shelf. Like there's no limit for us.
Yeah, and that's not government. That's not governance. That's just foolishness, really, and insecurity and overcompensation and all those psychological things that we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But so how do I fix it? Is we communicate. I don't see again in my county, in my district. Where I try to focus my time. So I can't speak for every county and every town in Indiana, but they don't talk. So Governor Braun in 2025, SB1 or SEA1, which is what it became, Senate Enrollment Act 1, was the budget bill, and they were cutting taxes at the state level, but then push those changes down to the locals, right? Like, well, we're not going to take any budget cuts at the state level. We're going to push all those budget cuts to what we send to the smaller towns, counties, cities, and then they can figure out how to do it. Well, there was no discussion, you would think, being that we're a completely Republican state outside of two counties. So my county and all of my district, which is Shelby County and Johnson County, is Republicans across the board. You'd think somewhere they would talk to a mayor or a town council or the county commissioner somewhere, right? Like, hey, this is coming. We don't have to tell people that that and it's coming or whatever. But hey, guy, this is what we're going to do. A couple of county council meetings after SEA 1 was signed into law, that one of the commissioners in Johnson County during a whole budget reconciliation meeting said, well, who do we blame when our constituents come to ask us why our taxes are going up? Who do we blame? And it's like, what? How do you ask this question? That is such a snapshot of what's wrong with our government. And again, I would love to reduce taxes. And I think we should tax, the higher incomes and corporations kind of back. I don't know if we need to be pre-Reagan at like 60, 70%, but we need to be above 0%.
Even if we started at 25% and go from there. Yeah. Like, okay, 25%, and let's see if that creates enough to cover that deficit, or if we need to go up more.
Yeah,
I think that would be perfect. And I am a small business owner. Do it. Do it.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of that from kind of conscious uh, millionaires is like, go ahead, you should tax us more. Like, I have a
Well,
lot
and
of
the
money.
CEO of Goldman Sachs. I actually watched a video a few days ago of him sitting there saying, "We need to tax the rich." He goes, "We need to tax the rich." He goes, "I will pay my fair share. Tax me, please." Because
Yeah,
the alternative is what's going to happen is you're going to push the poor people to the point they're going to break. And when they break, they finally rise up. And then at that point, they're going to eat the rich. He goes, it started with the United Healthcare CEO. When you push people to a certain point, the only response they have is violence. He
yeah,
goes, so let's keep it from getting to that point, and all we have to do is tax the rich and make sure everybody's taken care of. He goes, it's a really simple fix.
and get to
He's
work.
not wrong.
Right, we need to be working on sticking to budgets, making good budgets. I know the road tax formula. They bill per foot of road.
Mm-hmm.
They just bill it as like it's a one way, right?
Right.
So it's a 2-lane highway. Well, it's 2 lanes one direction, 2 lanes another. Um, it, all 4 lanes need to be taxed, not just like one unit or one direction, right? And so let's get in and fix taxing formulas to make sure they're taxing
Mm-hmm.
or funding repairs and things at the right rate.
Right.
Because no matter how much money we bring in, if we're not using the right formulas to fix our infrastructure, whether it's a foot of pipe in the ground for our sewers or for our water or for the roads, um, if we're not taking it from the tax and then applying it at the right rate, then it's not going to do us any good. So we need to, again, get to work, make sure we're allocating the right amount of funds to the right
Mm-hmm.
projects, and then follow up
Yep.
from the top down through the governor, through the legislature, and then in our cities and towns, and then all of our Department of Transportation, uh, Department of Environmental Management, our sanitary districts, and that's I feel like what we need to work on as a legislator. Yes, I need to write legislation or vote on legislation, but then I feel like there needs to be some like let's go check and see how this
Well, we
legislation
need to
is
look for the
working.
follow-ups because it's no different than working at a job. Do you not get an annual review?
Yeah,
I always did. And with my employees, I'll do an annual review. Why? Because I want to sit down and make sure that you understand what the expectations are for you, where you're coming, and I want to help you grow in the directions you want to grow. That's what those reviews are for. It's no different than having a representative say, "Okay, it's been 3 months. Let's review and make sure everybody's still where it's supposed to be." One of the things that I've talked to a few people about, and I absolutely agree with, is our representatives need to know how to budget. Campaigns should have a absolute cap of how much they can get for contributions total. Because I'm sorry, if you cannot figure out how, let's say it's $50,000. If you can't figure out how to campaign and win your district in $50,000 and you need $150,000 and the other person did it with 25, there's a problem there. There's a big problem there. You shouldn't have to use all that money to get the same results as somebody who used a fraction of it because they worked smarter and harder, not just threw money at everything and hope something stuck.
right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if we can go into the Democratic Party's
Right.
Secretary of State race right now and the money things going on there, and I joke and like, of course, it's a man needs 10 times the amount of money that a woman does to run a race. It just
Mm-hmm.
I would need 10 times more. I'm running against another man, so we can both fumble with our budgets as we want. But yeah, I mean, the amount of money spent on campaigns is ridiculous. I mean, that alone, if we went from the national all the way to local and the amount of money spent, that probably could save a lot of our issues that we have with uh, funding for the state, county, towns. Certainly, if you just started taxing like the congressional or all the national races, right? They basically
Mm-hmm.
say it basically is like $1 million and up
Right.
at that point. And why don't we tax those contributions? Like
Right.
at some point, you get 50,000. That's tax free, and then every dollar over 50 is taxed at 50%
Love it.
or 75%
Love it.
or
'Cause at that point, because you're still getting some of it, but it is also going back into the community, because
something.
that's what we need. Is we need it to go back into the communities that you are supposed to be supporting.
Yeah.
Why would you be upset if that money is going to go back into that community you're trying to campaign for? I wouldn't, because that'd be great, because that means even if I don't win, that money is going to go to help support this, and this, which are my main things anyways. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I care about, is that it's not just the means to get there. It's also the end results and making sure the right people are in place to hold to their promises. Because we get a whole lot of, yeah, we'll do this, and then, no, never mind. I mean, what about no more wars?
Yeah. I mean,
There's a lot of
that's
times
a tough thing to just come out and say anyway. Like, oh, I'm not going to get us into any wars. Like, well, what if somebody attacks us?
I promise that. It's one of those. I will attempt to not start any new wars, but if we are attacked, I will respond.
Yeah.
That I can get along with that one, because I am a pacifist. But you know what? You attack me, and it's done. I will use my words until somebody comes at me physically, and then it's done. Why? Because there was no need for that. We could have just sat down and had a conversation.
Yeah. I certainly, I mean, I played football, and I didn't even really like to hit people, and I played defense. Like, that was my job. But I was like, if I could play indoors, and which is more common now, and many of the high schools now have turf fields, which I like. I like the consistent footing. I know your feet can get stuck in the turf and have some odd twisted ankles, but the amount of twisted ankles I had from just bad grass, I feel like is equals that, especially at a high school level or low level college. You're just playing out on a dirt field somewhere, and but yeah, I have no reason to be in a fight or go to war or let's talk it out. This kind of beyond the scope of being a state legislator, but I mean, we're all one human race to me.
Thank you.
And we just what
That
are
is
we
actually
doing?
an argument I get into all the time with people, because there are people of certain colors who try to say that we are all of different races based on our skin, and I'm like, no, that's racism right there. No, but my race is black. It's like, my dude, that is like literally the definition right there. Is we are all one race. We are just different pigmentations. If you cut our skin off, we are exactly the same underneath. I'm a licensed massage therapist. Literally, we are all the same underneath our skin.
Yeah.
Like, if I start poking you, it's going to be the same points on everybody where you hurt. Why? Because it's attachment points. And the attachment points are in the same spot in everybody. We are literally the same underneath the surface of our skin. So why does pigmentation matter so much? Hell, then I'm polka dotted. I'm a natural redhead. I'm just a polka dot.
Yep. And it kind of goes with my a little bit with the geology and evolution and evolving on the planet together. I was raised Christian, but I don't really practice Christianity or any particular religion, except I try to be kind to people. And I've had
you don't need religion to be kind to people. You should just be kind to people.
Yeah.
Which is actually what Christianity and their main God preached, is just be kind to people for the sake of being kind. No reward in it.
Nope. Just treat, again, it's so simple. Treat others how you want to be treated. And certainly, I get flippant with people, and I mouth off at times. You get frustrated, or I think I'm witty or something. But and I take a lot of banter as well. I mean, I'm a vegan construction worker in many respects, and so how do you think that goes down on a construction site? I mean, we do. Like during emergencies, you don't always get to take breaks, especially in the first, 24 to 72 hours. It's just like all hands on deck, get there. And then they bring food. They'll just bring like a bucket of chicken and set it on a table somewhere and like eat when you can. Or, just bag, like to get like they'll buy 100 hamburgers or something, right? They would
Yeah.
go to the local McDonald's and so that's
or
what
get a
shows
snack
up.
or something that's quick and easy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
something.
I have a tomato allergy, so it's one of those. Is there anything there that doesn't have tomato? I'm not being picky. I will just go to the hospital if I eat it, and I really don't want to.
Yeah, yeah, and and I'm also like a 5'6", 5'7" football player. I mean, and played in college for just a little bit, and then went on to coaching. But you think I didn't get picked on at that size on a football team? And when I went to Butler, when I initially started playing, and my parents put me in school early for my age. I have an August birthday, so they put me in that early group. And so when I went to Butler, I'm in a room with about 110 football players, big lecture hall. That first day of practice, so nobody even knows me yet. Right, this is my introduction to the team. Coach calls me down front and is like, "Yeah, you need to have these permission slips." There were two of us out of 110. You have this permission slip signed because you're not 18. I mean, there were guys that were like 23 to 25 on the team.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I got picked on. I know about being picked on, and that's fine.
That was me. I was 1 to 2 years younger than all of my classmates because I tested into school early because my mom just couldn't handle me at home. I was too smart for her. And then I ended up taking a grade because, again, too smart for the teachers. Like, oh, yeah, no, I read all this in 2 days. I'm bored now.
Yeah. And
Like,
then you start
okay.
then you start causing problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I
Because
would
you
skip
get
a
bored
grade
and
smart,
you
but
learn. And I had ADHD too, so when I was bored, I would stim, and I wouldn't mean to make lots of noises, but I would just
Yeah.
start clicking pens or do something like fidgety.
Yeah.
Oh, I got in so much trouble for fidgeting.
Definitely
So
could have
trouble.
used a fidget spinner back then. I was like the pencil pen like flipper.
I have
I did so
necklaces
much.
and long hair and rings and bracelets now because I have to quietly stim. I had to learn how to quietly stim because I'm ADHD, just like my daughter. So she's getting ready to be tested. And they didn't have females be ADHD in the 1980s or 1990s. We just weren't. We were just overly sensitive, hyperactive, little, chatterboxes who would love to read and just be completely silent and be wallflowers. Like, yeah, no, that was me.
Yeah.
So we have Cheryl who goes, do you agree it is the overspending corruption that is the real issue problem?
Yeah. I mean, it just like how the war is in the TSA. TSA agents versus ICE agents versus the war, right? And they're saying, well, Democrats are refusing to fund TSA. Well, we never approved a war in the first place. So when we get out of war, we have all the money we want to spend on TSA agents. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard. You really can't compare, like, I think how normal people would govern with how our current federal offices are governing. I mean, it's just bonkers. But it's rubbing off, and like you can see, like Braun and the Republicans in Indiana really feeling secure in their support from the federal government. In that, sure, why not? Why not say we're giving a tax cut the whole time, knowing we're just pushing that tax cut down to our towns that are either going to have to fire their police and fire departments and or not treat their drinking water or not treat their wastewater
or not have
or raise your taxes
or not have 911 dispatchers or not be able to afford to repair the roads or all these other things that go hand in hand with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a brazen move to cut all that.
And honestly, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with Meow's question earlier, because that is impacted by it. All of those things are coming back down and being hit on the towns. So the towns are taking those taxes just to cover those deficits. So nobody's actually seeing any betterment in their communities because there isn't any. It's just the taxes are being pushed down to the towns.
Yeah. Yep. I don't get it. And I totally feel like I won't scroll through to see who that question that was, but absolutely, they're not doing the work. They're playing. They're enjoying the fame, whatever it is, to be on the town council of Barkersville, Indiana. that fame.
The
But
fact that you even bring that town up, my husband, he lived there for years, and so did my in-laws.
oh, so maybe
And
your
it's just
husband. Maybe I went to
like
school with your
town in
husband.
southern Indiana.
That's where we live. We live in Bargersville.
Oh, it's
And
a cute little town, but I call it a little podunk town because it's still one of those extremely little, small, cute towns in the middle of nowhere.
it's crazy now. I mean, they're building houses
Well, it's just like
hand
I live
over
in
fist.
Noblesville, which used to be that little, small podunk town, but about 7 years ago, they started expanding big, just big, and
Yeah.
they're trying to make it the next Westfield or Carmel. Yeah.
Well, you say the
Yeah,
next Westfield. I lived in Westfield when I initially I'd gone through school. I went to the University of Southern California for graduate school for 3 years. Met my first wife out there. She was met her through friends from Indiana. But while I was living out there, I moved back. We initially lived in an apartment in Indy, but then quickly we moved up to Westfield where she went to high school. And moving up there, I was like, well, this feels just like Center Grove 20 years ago when I was starting out there. But now Westfield has skipped over Johnson County and is far leaps and bounds because they
right up
put
there
their
with
money to work for the
Yep.
community. Or, and because I don't audit their books, but, or they're an extreme, I mean, they have debt for sure, but, maybe they have debt that they're not going to be able to overcome. I hope that's not the case. I hope they just put their money to work. But
So
my oldest daughter went to school there.
some of the
up to third grade.
towns like Carmel, Westfield, Fishers, and Noblesville are genuinely putting their money in mostly the right areas. There's some pet projects that didn't need to happen, and they've even omitted that after the fact because it ended up being a waste. But there's a lot of them where they've actually gone into rebuilding and reconfirming the infrastructure of a lot of the bridges or the roads or things like that, where people were genuinely complaining, going, "It is horrible to drive down this road. Everybody's getting, popped tires because of these massive potholes." And then 6 months later, they're actually paving the road and repaving it properly. It's like, okay, bet they're starting to listen. That's what we want. But we also had a lot of our seats in some of these areas flip blue.
Yeah,
because people were tired.
They've been clawing away for years, one seat at a time, and building it up to where, we thought last election, maybe this election, we'll see some bigger flips.
Here's the thing. I think this year, because there's a lot of flips happening in Florida, in Texas, and other hard red states.
Yep.
People are going Democrat. Mar-a-Lago flipped blue.
I saw that.
Mar-a-Lago, which has remotely Trump, flipped blue. And I'm sitting going, that's the sign. That is the sign. When you have die-hard Trump supporters going, nah, fam, we're done. That is the sign that, okay, they're deconstructing from that mindset and they're starting to actually come back to reality and realize this is not what we actually wanted. He lied to us. We effed up. Let us help fix it. We're going to vote blue. We're going to give you guys a chance to fix it for everybody because we screwed up and we're sorry. Great. You did you did the right thing. You took that first step. You flipped it blue and you went for somebody who's actually going to try to help not just you, but everybody. Because, well, grandma and grandpa are realizing their grandkids are in another state are being affected by this too. And oh, well, I screwed up. I voted for that. Oops. And now they're finally, I know some of my friends are finally starting to talk to their parents again, because one of my friends, her dad called and left a message going, I screwed up. I'm sorry. Can we please talk? And it was, they had stopped talking because they got in a fight when she found out he had voted for him back in 24. And she hadn't talked to him in over a year. And 2 weeks ago, he called her and said, I screwed up. Good, because that's all we're looking for is ownership, accountability, especially in politicians and representatives, not just in our family, but the people who are there going, okay, well, we have all this billions and trillions of dollars. What are we going to do with it? Are we going to splurge and make a golden ballroom that we don't need? Or are we actually going to put those billions of dollars towards feeding the kids that are starving?
Yeah.
That's what we need. People who are realistic and be like, we don't need a 230 million ballroom. We need to put that money towards feeding those kids in those states that don't have that money. Yeah. We need to put it towards.
And the first comment when people hear you say that, or hear us say that, is a bunch of freeloaders, right? I mean, all we need asking for is one of the 10 allotments or grants that say Elon Musk gets to maybe build a rocket or maybe just blow up a rocket, right? Like,
Right?
you know, and and there's use in that. I mean, we want to continue our space exploration. I don't know that I like it being as privatized as it is, but
I don't think it
um,
should be privatized. I
because they're
think it should be
not.
the community. I think it
Maybe
should be
there was
open
some
access.
progress, but I feel like now they're just like happy to get the money.
Yep.
And certainly, if they're taking money, I don't. The one thing I hate the most is they take all this government money and then they, within short order, post like, "Oh, we just had the biggest profit, at, $100 billion last year." Like, okay, well then money needs to go back to the
Yeah.
government,
Yeah.
which is like the oil companies do it all the time. It's like you take more money than anyone from our
Or
federal government.
if
Don't
you
be
get
telling
those
me about
federal
your profits.
governments and grants, then what you need to do is, okay, let's say you get that federal government grant for that rocket. Then every so often, you actually have to submit status reports and proof and pictures and videos of how it's going. You have to prove that you're actually using the money for what you say you're going to use it for in that project. Because if it's just sitting there as part of your profits, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
You shouldn't be getting that money. If your company is getting $100 billion profit annually and you're getting, 10 billion from the government annually to do these things, no, you don't need to be getting that money. That money should be going to the small businesses who actually need it so that they can, get to the point where they are self-sufficient. That's
So our
what should be
health care, our welfare, our children's supplemental nutrition, any one of those programs or all of them would only take, again, one of these allotments from a petroleum company or from a Musk or from one of the billionaires, and
Mhm.
it solves it. So, I mean, right now the biggest freeloaders are the billionaires, uh, and it's because there may be a poor family here in Indiana that is on welfare, but they get $25,000 a year or $50,000 a year, not $50 billion a
Right.
year. And so I just hate that argument. And I'm one of those, take care of the least of us to boost the rest of
Mhm.
us. We're
And
only
that's
we're
exactly
only
it.
as strong as our weakest link.
Our society is only as great as the poorest people. It really is.
Yeah,
And if we have more poor people than we do middle class or anywhere else, our society is not great. I hate to break that to you. We should have less below the poverty line than we do above it. And when it's the opposite, we don't have a great system. Let's be honest. It's
yeah,
not a great system. If you're sitting at $100,000 a year for your family of four and you are struggling in a state where the median income is 46,000 for a family of four and the federal poverty level is 33,000, when you make three times that, you should not be struggling. And I know a lot of families where we're sitting at 100,000 or less and we are struggling to put food on the table, to make all our bills meet, to pay off our debts and not accumulate more because everything just keeps going up, but we're not seeing that difference in our wages. Our wages are staying here, but everything keeps going up. Tariffs, inflation, this story, that story.
mhm,
A perfect example. Let's talk about migrant workers and how they were grabbed and sent back to where they came from, even though they were here legally on visas,
yeah,
because they didn't want them in the fields. They grabbed all the people from Florida. Now ask all the tomato farmers in Florida what happened to their crops. The
yeah,
vast majority of them rotted in the field because, like it or not, Americans think they're too good to go out in the fields and pick crops.
yeah. I don't know.
We
One, I don't know where that ever came from, but two, a lot of these people that have been here working the fields or our meat packing plants or our restaurants, hotel and service industry, uh, we like went out and got them. Refugees, like big groups of refugees, were brought here because we needed them, and then to turn around and like hunt them down. I mean, that's almost worse than just letting them stay where they were suffering, but at least they knew their enemy, and it wasn't going to be, somebody coming to stab them in the back.
right. So we have Math going, do you agree with the opinion that if the government shuts down, politicians should not be paid while it's in the shutdown?
Absolutely. Yep. Knowing full well that I could end up in a legislature that I'm not in control of, a minority of, and I would get stuck behind that and have to be and then be voted out. Which I think you should. If your term ends and there's not a budget and things aren't going well or the government shut down, then you're done. Boop. This is how it should be. I don't get this. Like, continue to get paid. Again, we're talking about handouts. Like,
Right.
they're talking about not wanting to give people handouts while having the money pour into their hands, which is a handout because they're not they're not taking care they're not doing their job, but they're still getting paid.
Is if I decided to go into work tomorrow and just sit there and not do my job, do you think I'm going to get paid?
No.
No, because I get paid when I work. So it's one of those politicians, love ya. No. If the government is shut down because you guys cannot come to a consensus, I don't think any of you should be paid until it's back up running. It's not fair that you are paid, but TSA agents aren't. You're sometimes military people aren't. This person is. All these different groups of government employees aren't paid. Why should you be paid?
Yeah,
You shouldn't.
I don't get it.
It's the same as if you run a business and you can't pay your employees, why are you paying yourself? You shouldn't. You pay your employees first. You make sure the people under you are paid first, and then you pay yourself with what's left. Why? Because that's good business sense. And if, hey, there's not much left after you've paid everybody, well, then you have to figure out why. Is it because you're not making enough profit? Is it because you're overpaying your employees? I love you, girly. Is it that you're not generating enough revenue because you're not selling or, providing what you're normally supposed to provide? Those are the things you look at. You don't just go, well, I'm going to pay everybody bare minimum. I'm going to have them go on welfare, Walmart, and then I'm going to pay myself millions of dollars every year. No, you as a company should not be able to rely on state subsidies to subsidize your employees so you make a bigger profit. That's not how it should work. Unfortunately, we see corporations gaming the system like that.
Yep, and I wish we could hold them accountable. I hope to be able to hold them accountable in one way or another, whether it's just calling it out or writing legislation that can change that. That wouldn't be likely a state legislation, but perhaps we could and start at that. Like, hey, Indiana is going to hold these companies accountable. And so that and people are like, oh well, they'll leave Indiana. Well, okay, because then we'll just take those people and we'll put them into small businesses and get the mom and pops back that love to serve their community and wanted nothing more than to serve their community as a grocery store or a hardware store or a clothing store, and just got run out by the malls and the big box stores. Which, I mean, I go to big box stores. I try not to, but I mean, it's hard in suburban Indiana to not. And more, even the grocery stores are conglomerated up into some, giant, massive business. So it's hard to avoid all that. But try to make conscious decisions the best we can, or vote with our dollars the best we can. And there's things that hurt from time to time. I'm a big. I never was. For the longest time, I was a gas station coffee guy. But one of my jobs, I got hired out, and they were carrying Starbucks in the break room. Right, that's what we brewed, and it kind of just brought me over to that side, and then I had brewed Starbucks at home. Starbucks was an early company with free Wi-Fi if you signed up for their card, their club or whatever. So I needed free Wi-Fi often in my job early on. So it was a good place to go for that. And too long of a story, make it shorter. Starbucks isn't treating their employees fairly. or so their employees report. Starbucks reports that they do, and I do think they have some good programs. But let's make sure everybody's taken care of. And I don't believe in blocking people from unionizing. If they want to unionize, let them unionize, and deal with it from that point. Uh,
Mhm.
there is there is power, whether you call it a union or just a group of in a small business getting together. There is power in the masses of join together, just like we talk about with voting. Get together, vote, and or stand up for your rights with your employer, because it's almost like human nature, like to take advantage of a situation or get comfortable in a situation is probably more like it. Is, oh, this is how it's always been done. I try to avoid that. When we hear that in our industry, it's usually around safety. Well, we've always done it this way, so I'm going to stick my hand in here and do that. You can keep doing it until you get your finger cut off. That's all we're trying to avoid, man. Is we don't want your finger cut off. Like, just trying to help your safety. Um, so anyway, I've cut back on my Starbucks big time. We don't have it at home anymore. And really the only time, and they have pretty good. No, they really don't, but they have oatmeal, a vegan option in the morning. So breakfast foods for vegans can be difficult. If you want something more than an apple or a banana or something, like obviously that's easy. Um, but that became a thing for me, is we go there and get oatmeal and a coffee and get on to my job. And I've just kind of slowed down on that unless there just is no other option in the area. Um, and then I may stop in. But I probably went from hundreds of dollars a week to tens of dollars a month spending with them. And so that's my way of voting with my dollars. And
Yep.
I don't appreciate what you're doing. Want me alone, cutting back, over a year, a few $100s, not a big deal. But if we do it together, we have
But if
some
you get a
power.
community, like when we were doing the whole Black Friday blackout where nobody was purchasing anything on Black Friday, do you know how hard that hit the commercial industry? There
Yeah.
was a lot of people who did not spend money. They lost billions upon billions of dollars. That's how you make it hurt. Is okay, cool. That's when you guys get all your money. I'm not going to buy anything. Why? Because it's going to hurt you that way. If everybody did that, that's where our power is. That is where our power is in saying, no, I'm not going to give you my money. I'm going to put it towards something else. I'm going to give it to somebody else because you don't deserve it. Because you don't even look at us like customers anymore. We are just consumers and numbers to you. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So we have Meowth going, so in regards to politicians not getting paid, do you think it would keep politicians from using the shutdown for leverage?
Yeah, I do. I think we kind of talked about that quite a bit. But yeah, again, it should be one. They better be going to work. Like if we go into a shutdown, they not only don't get paid, or we would not only not get paid, but they also have to work every day until it's fixed. You don't get to go on vacation. That's
like they did with the
crazy.
Republicans over the summer,
Yeah.
told them all
Oh,
to
we're
go
not.
home and enjoy a few weeks off.
Yeah. No. Again, at that point, it should be if you're like literally just fired. Like if you leave during a shutdown, and so you leave and you're not involved in the fixing process, you're just fired, and there's an immediate
Unless
special
you
election.
have a genuine family emergency.
Right.
Because if somebody dies, that's one thing. If somebody's in the hospital, that's totally. Somebody's giving birth, that's it. But if there's nothing like that going on, you just want to go home to see so and so for a week. Yeah, no. You need to be back at work doing your job until the government reopens because, well, nobody else is getting, the time off. You shouldn't either. If everybody else is working their ass off trying to resolve this, you should be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I know a lot of the reason why they're in the shutdown right now is because the Dems are saying, we'll fund TSA, we'll fund this, we just won't fund ICE. And they're standing their ground. Good for them. Please continue standing your ground.
Yes.
The rest of us, we will persevere and we will hold through. Stand your ground. We will figure it out. Stand your
I've also said, the TSA, like walk off the job. We don't need airplanes. What do we need airplanes for? Just get places faster. Again, the people who say they need airplanes, those people quit long enough, things will get fixed.
Oh yeah, and it's one of those. Personally, I don't like driving 26 hours to Arizona. I've already done it once in the last month. I did it back in May for my best friend's birth, the birth of her son. I drove there and drove back. It's 26 hours. No, I will be flying going forward because that was killer on my back. Oh.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's 10 hours or less. No, my ass is driving.
Yeah. I mean, I fly and I travel quite a bit for work, but again, I don't think it's worth it for me to have the government shut down, right? Like, or to no, I mean the government shut down to have people working for no pay,
Right,
especially under Donald Trump, who's famous, literally famous for not paying
not giving
people.
them back pay.
Right. So there's no way. There is just no way I would work for no pay.
And I don't blame the fact that there's a lot of TSA offers who just quit, stop showing up, call off, just walk off. I don't blame them because if you're not getting paid, it's not worth it, especially when you know that you have a president that has a history of not giving people the back pay for the work they've already done.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry when I say personally, if I were in that situation, I would not be taking that chance. I'd be finding a different job.
Yeah. Media, yeah. I wouldn't even have like, oh, okay, we'll see if it goes for a few days. I've been like, right. I'm out. Yeah. I know it's hard. I say that. I know it's not that easy, folks. One, you usually love your coworkers. Sometimes your immediate boss, and you become family. Like, you don't want to walk away from that, but you need to be paid.
But here's the thing: it's at the end of the day, you need to be smart about it. Is it worth your time? Because guess what? Time is the most finite resource we have. We only have a limited set amount of time on this planet, and nobody knows when their time is going to be called. Nobody knows when it's their last hour. So personally, I'm one of those that, nope, not with my time. I'm going to find something that is. Love you guys, but I have to do what's best for me and my family because I cannot exist without a paycheck. None of us can. Most of us have 2, 3, in some cases 4 jobs in the family. You know, I personally, my husband works 60 hours a week. I work part-time with a chiropractor. I run my own business. I do crochet and I sell my things. And I started doing, political interviews on TikTok after streaming for 2 years. On top of everything else of being a mom and doing this and doing this. But we're at the point where you have to figure out every option, every avenue you can in order to generate enough money to just pay your bills.
Yeah.
Which if somebody has 4 different hustles, they should not be struggling to pay their bills.
No, they should not. Yep, we gotta get back to treating labor fairly, treating people fairly, healthcare, some of the basics that have just gotten out of control. And in one breath, they're like, we can't afford it, we can't afford this, and then in the next one, we're going to spend $1 billion a day. Like, I don't get it. I don't get the reasoning. I just don't understand, and that's why I'm running. Like, I've seen, I haven't worked in the legislature or anything, but I've seen enough over the years, and now being a lot closer to the action through campaigning and spending time with elected Dems and getting to know what they do. We just have to work. We have to work for the people.
So we have Meowth going, a lot of our residents have an issue with feeling like representatives only vote for their policies and not the public. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I think it's, I definitely feel like that's the case. You see it in our legislature, you see it in other state legislatures, you saw it I guess in the attempt for redistricting, you saw the Indiana House pretty much just voted along party lines. It's easy to say, no, I'll vote for whatever is good policy. And I like to think I would do that. I've been pretty good with that over the years. But I imagine a lot, because I align with a lot of the stated Democratic platform, and not every Democrat sort of follows that path, but at least the stated platform, and really it's do to others what you would do for yourself. So I feel like that policy and that voting with the party is good for everybody. Um, but I mean, I like to weigh the options. So I imagine 95% of the time I'd probably vote with the party. But there'd be times I'd probably break away for good legislation, as long as it's backed up with good information.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those like, please vote your conscience, because at the end of the day, you absolutely have to fall asleep with yourself at night. And it's one of those like, if even if it's party politics, it's, well, does that actually benefit everybody? When you look at that and you vote yes, will you be able to sleep tonight or tomorrow if it goes through?
Yeah.
And it's one of those. And then ask yourself, is perfect example, SAVE Act, making it harder and disenfranchising over 70 million Americans. And it's not just women. Ethan is a perfect example of somebody who hyphenated his name and it doesn't match his birth certificate. So he's somebody who would have to go through all the process of getting it changed, or he won't even be able to be on the ballot after a certain date. So it's one of those, it's set up to disenfranchise millions upon millions of Americans, the majority of them women. And that just goes to show, like, when it comes to party politics, that is something where if the Democrats voted yes on that one, oh God, we would be over, because there's no point in it. We already have all the steps and measures we need in place in order to prevent illegals from voting, in order to prevent fake votes, in order to prevent fraud. A lot of it has to do with, instead of looking at the people, look at the boxes, the voting boxes, the polls, and look at who's maintaining them. Because that's where you're going to find out the fraud. It's not going to be in the people going to the polls. And speaking of which, they're trying to shut down even more polling booths across the state, not just in ours, but across the United States, to make it harder, especially in rural areas, for people to be able to go out and vote and use their voices.
Yeah, I mean, the same lines. We sound like a broken record, but it's coming out in the current administration, again, from the national down to the state. But in our state, at one moment, they're bragging, oh, we audited our voting machines, and we had 7 cases of fraud in 20 years. And then, well, we need to have these voting laws so we don't have fraud. Well, wait, you were just bragging about how great your administration is for not having any fraud, but now you're telling us we need a whole new law for fraud?
Yeah.
And you sit there and you regurgitate their own words back to them, or regurgitate that party's words to their constituents, and they just like they don't get it. And again, it's kind of another reason I'm running. Like, this is crazy town. Like, what are you doing? You just told me there was no fraud because your administration is so great. Yeah. And then in the next second,
but you gotta make sure there's no fraud in the future because your administration isn't that great. I mean, they sit there and they contradict themselves in the next breath. They say one thing and then next breath contradicting. It's like you just contradicted yourself.
And I feel like there's things in life where you might do that. I don't have one on the top of my head, but
I contradict myself all the time.
But it's very
joke about it.
Like, so many things are very simple. Like don't shut down the government. If you've audited and there's no fraud, there's no fraud. Like, you can't make it up. No matter how many times Donald Trump says there was fraud in an election, there just wasn't. He's lost hundreds of court cases over it. And so it seems like there's so many simple things that I don't feel like I need to be some sort of law wizard or public policy wizard to win. Like, just don't be stupid. It's what I'm trying to be, and I can even be that sometimes.
And do this for everybody. That's all I do. It's so easy, but it's not.
And I feel like I'm in a good spot. I've clashed with so it kind of goes back to the original question of party politics. Like, if I didn't disagree with the Democratic Party, I wouldn't be running, because the general party tune is you don't have a freaking chance. So why do it?
Right.
Oh, that's never going to get us anywhere if we just take that attitude. Um, and they will contradict themselves, like, "Oh, we're grassroots and we got to do this." Oh, why are you even trying? Like, you just gave this great impassioned speech about where every vote matters and
Right.
and one step at a time, and we can build it, and we can build it back, and the people are out there. I believe that. I don't think the top of the party believes it, and they've had to struggle through a pretty tough 20 years in Indiana. But part of that is they will not change what they're doing at the top kind of executive level of the party, at the state and seemingly at the national level. And I just laugh when they this is how they come in and give classes, and this is how it needs to be done. Well, did you win? No. Okay, so why does it have to be done your way? And you don't have to win to have a good method, but they sit there and have all these matter of fact things. It's like, we've been in a super minority for 20 years. I don't think anything you have to say is really relevant anymore.
Right.
I'm sorry. And that's what the big kerfuffle with Destiny Wells and Karen Tallien and the whole head of the party last year was like, what? Why would we vote to do the same thing? And ultimately we ended up with the same thing. And it's like 20 years of this, and then you just voted to continue much in the same way that the Republicans are like, oh, things are bad. Things are going so bad. Hey, let's vote Donald Trump back in. Like, why?
It's like that was going to make it better.
Or for our county, I mean, our county commissioners have been in office for tens of years, just crazy long time, and it's just starting to hit people here like, oh, nothing's getting done. Now they're like, oh, we need to build up these roads because I-69. Well, don't give me that excuse. We knew I-69 was coming 25 years ago.
Right.
And they took 0 steps to do anything about that. And so now you get off the highway and it's country roads. You might have want to started working on the roads 25 years ago, because now it's going to take 25 years to get them up to where I-69 is. The amount of traffic that moves off of I-69 and 65. I mean, Johnson County should have robust roads very similar to Hamilton County,
Hamilton County's
because there's highways on both sides of the county, and there's literally no way to get in between the two highways.
No, there's not.
Without stoplights and zigzags and everything.
You either take a lot of gravel roads or there's a lot of lights. It's one or the other. It is not easy driving between major highways here because none of the roads are really paved. Just the primary ones. But you go country road, it's nothing but gravel.
Yeah, well, but up on the north side, 146th Street or 116th Street, both of them are 4 lanes. I mean, they were just country roads back, 2-lane.
I remember back. I've been here since I was 16 and I'm 41. So I remember back when there was no this and there was no that. There was no Top Golf. There was no anything. It was just literally no houses, no apartments, nothing. Just one lane road.
What is 196th Street? They're on the north side of 4. I think it was 96. And then maybe it turns into 92nd or. But where the H.H. Gregg used to be, that didn't even go through. There wasn't a bridge across whatever creek is there.
I worked right at that intersection when they were doing all that construction a decade ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember when it didn't go. You had to do this, and you had to do this, and you had to do this, and then you had to do this, and do a U-turn to get back onto 96th Street.
Yeah. Oh, that's where Johnson County is now. It was like, oh, we don't know what to do. All this traffic, dude. I knew it when I was 16. When I was driving, as soon as I got in the car, I was like, "Oh, this town is messed up."
Yeah.
And that was 34 years ago, and almost nothing has changed in those 34 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a few roundabouts down here.
We've seen a lot of change in certain areas, and then there's certain areas that get a lot of traffic that still have not had any improvement. They're finally getting ready to put a roundabout in where State Road 37 and Greenfield meet, where there's basically an accident every few days, and there's a fatality at least twice a month. Yeah, they're finally putting a roundabout there in order to help stop all of that, and everybody's excited because that will actually stop. Because the other area where we're having a lot of those issues was 116th and Hazeldale, where they were having a lot of accidents right there, and they put in a roundabout and they all stopped.
116th. What is Hazeldale T into? 106th
It goes all the way down to 96.
to 96. Okay. So what was that? 116. Was that a light then? And they changed that? Okay.
Yep. Yep. They even bought up the yellow house that was at that corner in order to put the roundabout in.
Oh, okay. Is that the northeast corner? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That was my way to work for a long time when I lived in Westfield because they had the roundabouts.
The yellow house. Anybody who went through that intro, I remember that house.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gone.
Because they did those roundabouts, so I was either Hazeldale or Spring Mill, like if I could, coming out of Westfield, to avoid all the lights. And I mean, I avoided Meridian and Keystone like crazy.
Yeah, like they were the plague.
Yeah.
The only reason why I had to start taking Meridian to school is because it was literally off of Meridian, and that was the fastest way. It's like I hate Meridian.
That was a lot of stoplights back in the day. Well, like
now it's just straight shot, and I like what they did, and they're turning 37 into that, and I like that because it's a lot faster, and there's so few accidents now.
Yeah, and it was painful for the businesses, no doubt. But it's so much better for them now because I do it down here. I avoid our two main commercial corridors because there's just too many lights. Again, if you could have the situation they have on the north sides, that's 31 and 135 through Johnson County, State Road 135. I guess it's State Highway 31, and they should be pretty much designed the same way. Certainly 31 from 465 to Columbus should have that same underpass situation. And some businesses would, they'll take a beating, but
here's the thing. They'll take a beating at the beginning, but once it's completed, they'll make up all of that revenue in a very short amount of time.
If they can survive. But usually, like, did you ever go to? It was called Jersey's for a little while. It was at it was just south of Clay Terrace, and there's a little like a strip mall. That's where they started out, and they were called Jersey's. It was a guy from New Jersey. He made everything basically from scratch, and had a crazy, like almost like a diner menu, like just all kinds of things, but also like New Jersey staples, like Taylor ham and egg sandwiches on a bagel. Had his bread and bagels brought in from New Jersey. But I think because he did everything and he pretty much did it himself, I think his business ultimately failed because of that, not necessarily because of that construction, because they weren't packed as it was. It was kind of a weird location. And then they moved over to where Upland in Carmel is. Maybe not in that same strip mall, but very close to there. Maybe a little bit to the east. And no, I think it was in with Upland. And then eventually he shut down. I can't imagine the rent is cheap at any of those locations.
No, not in any of those locations.
Certainly not anymore.
I used to work at the spa in Clay Terrace and then a spa in Hamilton Town Center. And I can tell you, no, the rent there is not cheap. It is not cheap at all. So we have Mal going, do you think it would benefit outcomes if we had more options when voting instead of only having two parties that seem to divide many people drastically?
Absolutely. I am a huge fan of ranked choice voting. I think if we could get to a system where we use something like ranked choice voting, it would naturally lead to more parties being able to be involved. And we don't need to go into the details of ranked choice voting. If you don't know what it is, look it up. They do use it. they used it in the primary for New York City this year, and I think that's one reason that Mamdani was elected, because it allows you to put your vote with your heart or with what you really like, even if it's not like that's probably not going to be the winner, but I really like them, I want to vote for them. It allows you to do that, and you rank your number one, and then if okay, well, that my other Democratic candidate or my other candidate I like is okay, but I like the other guy better, then you rank them second, and you rank all the candidates, and then once all the votes come in, if nobody's reached 50%, they knock the bottom off and distribute those votes to their second place until we get to somebody that actually has 50% of the votes, the majority. And but it also it sort of forces candidates to work together a little bit and find common ground, because you want to grab their vote. If that person doesn't make it, you want to be able to grab their voters and not have them completely hate you. So it also adds a bit of civility to the debates, or the conversation. Uh, what I've seen, it looks pretty good. I think that would be the way to go, and I think that would naturally, without having to. A lot of people are like, we need like force more parties in here, and we've tried that. The Green Party, fine platform, but they just can't get that momentum, and it's really hard for anybody right now to overcome these big two. It's just kind of ingrained, and because you just lose that vote, like you can't take a flyer. You really feel like you need to go in. At least what you're hearing is the majority, and kind of sort of support that. And if you have more than two, it's hard to understand where that majority sits, and so it kind of boils back down to two. And yeah, I don't agree with 100% of the Democratic platform, uh, and I may be a different party if there was another party, at some area of the spectrum of the Democrats or of the left. Uh, and I guarantee there's people on the right that feel the same way. Like they're not MAGA. They would really like to be called something else. And so, I mean, there's already sort of four parties out there, kind of two within the two major parties. And we fight that out in the primaries. But I would like to see ranked choice voting.
See, because I've interviewed somebody who was Democratic and actually switched to the Green Party because they aligned better with what his values were and what he wanted. And then I've actually interviewed a few people who are running independent, and Arizona actually created an independent party of Arizona, so they're running under that. And I actually think that's really, really cool, because that gives them the ability to truly run on whatever their specific platform is, what they want for people, without having to be tied to a specific, larger party or specific types of donors. So there are some more parties out there, but they're small. Unfortunately, the Democrats and Republicans are the two largest parties, but there are factions within those parties as well. Because you have your faction that's more Bernie socialist Democrats that they're really gung-ho for this, and then you have more of your conservative Democrats who are like, well, no, but how about this? And then you have your liberal, and you have this, and you have that. So there's a lot of different factions within those specific parties themselves. So even though somebody might be a Republican, they're not a right-wing Republican. They're just more of a conservative liberal that's not quite Democratic. Because there's a lot of them that, well, turns out the left-wing extremists like I am used to be back in the 90s what the moderate Democrats were.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that used to be moderate? Damn. Like, how have we come since the 90s to have like normal values be moderate of that time and be extremist of now?
Yeah. Well, because the spectrum's shifted so much to the right. And that's my argument in my wife's race is her opponent wants to be in the middle. Like the middle now is way on the right side. Like, and it's pretty obvious when you talk to them and you look at them, like you are a Republican. Like, I don't know who you're fooling.
What
but
extremists used to be.
Well, and he's not extreme, but he's a
not.
conservative white male. Like, that's a Republican. I don't just.
But that's what I'm saying. What he is now, the moderate he is now, is what back in the 90s would have been considered, extreme right wing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that's just it. Is you look at that, I'm like, but when what used to be extreme is moderate, and what used to be moderate is now extreme, that's a problem.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, everything. Well, it's so hard to gauge like what is even reality during this current administration because now they've pretty much taken over all the news. They've put in place whatever kind of weird press corps that they have. That's not. It's not even like a spectrum of podcasters. It's literally just you buy in and you do our propaganda only, or you do not, or you're not allowed in. And so we don't even really know what reality is. You're not getting it. I think there's a group of people that are like you that are reaching out and connecting dots and making the effort to put out different perspectives and kind of real information. But the general press doesn't put that out, and so you just have this very skewed version of reality from the press, kind of the traditional press. So it's
The
almost like
mainstream.
you don't want to make too many judgments and decisions based on like the current administration because it's just so out of whack
Right.
that it seems extreme to just go back to like what normal was, say
Yeah.
10 years ago.
It does.
I say
Because,
10 years ago. Trump was in office 10 years ago. So
let's say
15
20,
years ago.
20 years ago, back, in the mid or the beginning of the 2010s.
Yeah.
2022. Back when Obama, if we could go back to that, that would be great because things were stable. And that's just it. Is our country was actually stable. Now it's extremely volatile to the point where we are issuing checks we cannot cash, and it's going to be up to the citizenry to figure out how we're going to cash them once it comes due.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of the problem because, well, how are we going to? Because taxes even more. Well, we don't have the money to begin with. There's no crumbs left of that pie.
No, it's crazy. I don't even know how people like other countries even talk to us, which that's dwindling. But
yeah, most of them are not, and the ones that are, well, they're the other authoritarian, dictatorships that are laughing at us.
Yeah, it's it's crazy.
You could snap your fingers and make one thing law tomorrow in Indiana. What would it be?
Oh boy.
You can thank Ethan for this one.
Thanks, Ethan. Well, I'll stick in my grounds because I've talked about this a lot. I don't know if it's a reality, so maybe this is the perfect place for it. In non-reality is all homes, if it was snap my fingers and make it a reality, all homes, all residential dwellings would have solar and a backup battery. So basically all homes would be off the electrical grid.
I love that because that would help to solve a lot of the issues that I know Southern Indiana is facing right now, because they are receiving letters and notifications that they need to conserve their energy. And a lot of that has to do with the data center coming in and taking up all those resources.
If I get a letter like that with the way these data centers are going in, I'm taking it to their office and burning it on their front steps. Like, are you kidding me? Don't bring this company in here with all these energy needs and then ask us, tell them to brown out. They can brown. They're not even here yet. I hate that. We had that earlier this year. I guess it was in the fall where there was, or was it? No, I think it was just during the cold snap this winter, where they're like, "Oh, be careful, conserve your energy." Like, get the heck out of here! Like, we were getting that message like while we're at a protest for a data center. Like,
that
get it out of here.
Going out on January 26th. and it was out for almost a full month.
Oh my.
So again, I was doing research because Ethan brought that up. So I'm like, okay, let's look into this. Oh, that's real. Oh, when did that start going out? Oh God. Oh God. And the more I look into it, it's like, okay, now we're talking about, Citizens Action Coalition.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they do good work. I would say all these data centers coming in, and it's like, like, oh, we're investing $4 billion in your community. Like, no, you're not. You're investing that in your building.
And then the community is going to end up paying for that because, well, if you're coming in and my electric use is not changing. I'm using the same amount I've been using on average for the last year. How come my bill went up $300 because you came into this area?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It's not us. Well, nothing else changed. So something happened. Let me see. Something happened in January. Oh, you signed on a lease. Like,
Yep.
so yeah. Oh, and there's another example of a law that is just mind blowing. Is that our legislature wrote into law that we have to pay for their bills to upgrade the infrastructure. Like, who does that? Who in their right mind does that? They're doing it to themselves. I mean, they're probably, I hope they're getting kickbacks, because what in their right mind would make them approve a law like that? Because they also have to pay. Like, they live in the state, well, some of them, and so they're just penalizing themselves on top of that.
But that's just it, is they don't think it through and they don't care because, oh, the corporations are going to come in. Oh, I'm going to get a kickback. Oh, my pockets are going to be lined. But they're not thinking about the impact of 5 years down the road. And that's a lot of the problem. And I wanted to talk about data centers because, the environmental impact of data centers. Speaking of the EPA, so I don't know if you're probably aware because you're doing environmental science, that the the federal government passed a law where the state laws for their EPA requirements cannot be more stringent than the federal government.
Right. No. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They can't. Yeah. Right. They can't be. Yeah. It used to be the other way. Like.
Yeah. So if the federal government says that for your carbon emissions, you don't have to care about them, and Indiana wanted to write in a law saying you have to care about them, they can't. Because the federal government says we don't care. That is the problem. There's a lot of things on that list that they don't care about anymore, which, well, like it or not, when those data centers come in, let's talk about the pollution to the air and how it's going to affect people's quality of life, especially those who have asthma or lung issues.
Running 100 diesel generators all at once for 24/7. It's absolutely horrible. It is so bad for the breathing air. I mean, and people are like, what are you talking about? Like, well, just go sit behind a pickup truck that has their big turbo diesel engine, and just sit behind their tailpipe for a little while. Like, that's what we're getting. Like,
so I know for Indiana, right now there are 30 to 40 projects in development that are considered hyperscalar, which means that they're not the normal data centers that we've been used to, the tiny ones. No, these are the massive ones for the AI systems, for Amazon, like all the things housed in this. I know one place, the amount of acres they bought up, it was a lot for a facility, and it was monstrous. It is a campus the size of some of our colleges for this data center. One of the reasons why they've been coming in is the state tax exemptions that they've been given, in addition to the high-tech infrastructure. So basically, we're footing the bill for them to have their high-tech infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is why is because we're saying, hey, if you come here, we won't charge you any money to be here. And in fact, we will pay for you to be here. Just come here. Because, they're going to bring jobs. Well, what jobs are they actually bringing to the area?
Yeah,
because
not many.
Not
and I like jobs for construction and union workers. Great, but again, it's not gonna last. And then really, in effect, if somebody's bringing 10 jobs, I'm excited about that. But again, not if they're going to be running the first 2 years off of diesel generators because they don't have any power infrastructure.
Right.
I personally think that these can be done in the right way, but not on the timeline that they want. Right? They want it now, and no matter what. Right? Again, if we have to put 100 generators, we have to put 200 generators. That's what we'll do. Just we want it now, and that doesn't work for any of the residents in any way. If they could be a little more patient, or again, if they want to invest in a community, start putting solar, getting residential houses off of the grid makes more space on the grid for them.
Yes.
So
Yep.
put money into the community, invest in the community like they say they are going to do. And even with this crazy spending, we still hear about how much money Google makes and how much money Amazon makes, right? So they don't need the money. In the effect that we don't need to be the ones paying for things. I'm not saying that this is free for them, but they certainly have a lot more money than I have.
Right.
And so they can pay their own way, and they can invest in communities and get, if they want to do it now, then, and people always like, why does everyone talk about solar and wind and not nuclear? Well, most nuclear is like 30 years out, and that's fine. Like we can look at that, but we can't even take care of our plastic bags from the grocery store. Do you want those same people handling nuclear waste?
Right.
No.
Right.
You
No.
can't even handle a plastic bag.
Believe it or not, one of my cousins is a nuclear physicist. So that is what he does. He works in nuclear plants. Now, so we've had this conversation. My first question for you is, what are you doing with the waste? Because that was my question. So what's going to happen with the waste? He goes, well, they're going to build dump sites where they take the bottles and the canisters and store them. I said, so what happens after that? What happens if it leaks? What happens? All the questions like, what are they going to do if it gets into the ground? Are they just going to not care about radioactive waste in the groundwater because they don't care about that anywhere else? They don't even care about normal chemicals in the groundwater. I know with what you do, I have recently called a lot of the water treatment centers and been able to get a little bit of information out of them. And basically the same thing I'm being told is the chemicals in the water are adequate for adult human consumption as long as that adult human is over 150 pounds and 6 feet tall.
Yeah, that's kind of the base risk analysis, or the default is a adult human healthy.
So what about me? I'm 135 and I'm not healthy. I have 4 autoimmune disorders, or my kids, or better off, my cats. I've had 2 cats die of cancer, and I was telling Ethan, he goes, oh God, he goes, our pets are our canaries. Our pets are our canaries.
Mm-hmm.
If our pets are getting sick, look at what's causing them to be sick. I've had 2 of my 5 cats pass of cancer. It's the water. 100% it's the water. So now they get filtered water that gets filtered again, that gets filtered a 3rd time before it gets put into their fountain that filters it. Why? Well, if that's the only thing I can do to help combat the chemicals in the water so that my cats can actually drink the water and their bodies don't hold on to those heavy metals and the chemicals and the this and that make them sick, well, then that's what I'm going to do. But that's the other thing we have to look at is, okay, so all that stuff that gets into the air, it gets into the water too. Why? Rain.
Yeah.
All those chemicals that are already in the water, they get evaporated. They come back down in the rain. It's why we can't drink our rainwater anymore, because it's not healthy. It's not clean because of all the chemicals in the air, because of the pollution. You know, with the data centers, here's the thing about Indiana that I don't think a lot of people realize is Indiana relies very heavily on fossil fuels. Very heavily on fossil fuels. With these data centers coming in, it is giving the coal industry they're being able to lobby a lot of the representatives in order to vote into keeping coal going longer. And in turn, that is causing a lot. It's very expensive, but the coal ash that's falling near those plants, that's getting into the water, that is then moving throughout the state of Indiana into the groundwater, into the sky, all of that, well, then it's being consumed by us as well, because that is part of what the chemicals have to fight. Because the more they use coal, the dirtier the air gets around them, and it expands. So next thing you know, you have particulates being blown 50 miles away from the plant just because of the wind. So all of these places, these data centers, these plants, you know, they have areas, radiuses where they're going to impact the people, whether it's noise pollution because they're close to them, or it's going to be, impediment to the air, which is going to cause people who already have lung issues to have a harder time breathing in our state. That would be me. That would be my daughter. I mean, she had pneumonia for the first time at 6 months. We have a nebulizer in our house because of our lungs. So it's one of those, that's another thing we have to look at as living in the state with them rolling back those EPA protections is it even viable for us to continue to live in this state if the air quality is going to continue to suffer to the point where we can't go outside and breathe?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Indiana's bad enough with the pollen and the dust, just in general, let alone the contaminants. And yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yep.
And
like
then
said,
to pass the way how easily they pass laws, again, giving them ways to bypass these things. Just I don't understand where they're coming from. And eventually it was like, I guess I'll run for this office. Again, where I'm running, Rob Green would have gone uncontested in 24 and in 26. And for me, that's not an option anymore. I know we still have a few uncontested races out there, but and likewise, it should be the same way for say in Marion County, where Republicans need to be holding the elected Democrats accountable and fighting hard against them to hold them accountable because they have become complacent in Marion County, and that's kind of getting out of whack.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you because again, I live in Hamilton County. I work all over all over Indiana though. Like here in a few weeks, I'll be in Indianapolis at Camp Saratoga. And then in May and June, I'll be at Billy Creek Village in southern Indiana. And then, later this year, I'm going to be up by Fort Wayne. So I do all these events all over the state. So I interact with a lot of people who live in Indiana. And I do hear a lot of things, such as like Meow, she's saying she's sick at the moment. And some of it has to do with the pollutions in the air because of the fact that they've rolled back the EPA standards already for some of the factories near where she works or where she lives.
Yeah. And I've known people. There is more on the allergen side. And that's for me. When I leave the state for work, I almost don't have to take any allergy medicine. As soon as I come back, I mean, it just hits hard. And I've known people that have eventually like found jobs elsewhere just to not have to deal with that part of being in the Midwest. And particularly Indiana. Like I seem to get relief just going to Ohio and Illinois and Michigan. So I don't know what grasses and trees are in Indiana, but
and it could be the pollen. And here's the thing: is Indiana has a lot of non-native plants in it as well, which could be contributing to the allergens.
Yeah.
But we also have the issue where a lot of our bordering states, their air quality, their control, it's a lot better than what we have here because of the fact that unfortunately Indiana hasn't been stringent with their EPA standards, period. I've seen a lot of things where they let people get away with whatever as long as they pay the fine.
Well, or they just change it to where there isn't going to be a fine. In our industry, it's very well known that our Department of Environmental Management is very business friendly. It's a thing. Yep. So like for our clients, when we're like, and they're like, oh, they're screwing me over. Like this state is as business friendly as it gets. Or if we want to do like a non-default risk assessment. So you were talking about the default standards of a 6 foot, 150 pound male adult.
Right.
Well, let's change, do some, if it's at a work site, like, well, you don't have exposure to the water at your office because you're only for 8 hours, not 24 hours, right? So, or 40 hours a week. So let's use 40 hours as our default time frame instead of the full 24/7 in a week. And in some states we might say like no, like we're not going to let you do that because if they go home, they're exposed to it there, whatever. And it's all site specific, but um, Indiana is always open to like, how can we not find the business,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yep.
was always been great for my clients, but and I haven't really worked. I don't do a lot of air permitting, say like the big
Right.
stacks for factories, um, which is one of the places where I think it really affects public health. Um, I've had to do some groundwater stuff, but again, say in Indianapolis, not a lot of people are drinking like straight. Almost nobody would be drinking straight from the groundwater. Uh,
Let's be
mostly
honest,
like the
most people
reservoirs.
don't even drink straight from their tap anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Like in Noblesville and Fishers, where I work at the chiropractor's office, oh, you do not drink from the tap because after about 4:30, it starts to smell like sewage.
That's weird.
Every day. It's fine until about 4:30, and then when you turn it on, whew, there is odor coming from that water.
Wonder what that's about.
I have no clue, but that's just one of those like. And I pointed out to my friend, to some of the people who were running in Arizona when I went to visit her. The first thing out of her mouth is, "Don't drink the water," and she turned it on and it came out brown. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not touching that." She goes, "It's fine for showering, just let it run for a second." She goes, "But don't drink it; it will make you sick." I'm like, "That's not good when your tap water will make you sick."
No, yeah.
And it doesn't matter what state you're in. If your tap water makes you sick or has smells or taste or any of that, there's something wrong with the water. It shouldn't taste weird. It shouldn't have smells. It shouldn't come out brown. It should come out odorless, tasteless, clear. That's how water should be.
Yeah. That's another one I've been seeing a lot more, partially because of social media, is people posting like, "This came out of my tap," and I'm always like, "Where do you live? Like that is not right." And it's another part of the working. Like these people get in, like you need to be working as a government, not just like, "Oh, we're in charge, yay." No,
Right.
you get
Okay,
the
well,
whole
you're in charge.
reason
Now, what are
people
you going
put
to
you
do
in
for us?
charge was to take care of them,
Yep.
not to exploit them.
Exactly. So Meow is going, we have a lot of plastic and metal factories around our small town, Steel Dynamics being one of them. And they have steam billowing and they have explosions in their silos very frequently. It's just very bad when you can't tell what the factories are making depending on how our town smells. What about the cloud seedings and all hazard related with? That was from Incubus.
What was that
So what
last
about
part?
cloud seeding?
I don't really know much about cloud seeding. I'm not for it. One thing I've learned through all my earth science stuff is anytime we insert ourselves into a natural system, we screw it up.
Okay,
So
so
we
is
need to
cloud
stay out of
seeding
that stuff.
basically making fake clouds in our atmosphere?
Well, most clouds form around, initiate around dust particles, and so by having more dust particles, the thought is then that will collect moisture and create clouds, and then maybe they'll build up big enough to rain somewhere, or at least provide, overcast skies to provide shade. Um, to me, it's like let's just not uh, pollute, produce so much greenhouse gas and do
Right.
these other things that are causing warming or climate acceleration, and not try to backwards engineer like, well, I don't want to give up my bad habits, so I'm going to try to engineer a way around my bad habits. I don't. I'd rather just get rid of the bad habit.
Yep. And Incubus is saying they're using products to reflect UV rays. And here's the other thing you have to keep in mind, that part of what's causing some of the warming, especially in Indiana, is the fact that they are paving over a lot of grasslands. They're paving over a lot of trees. They're building more concrete. So the thing you have to keep in mind about blacktop, about roads, about all of that is they reflect heat. They do not absorb heat like the ground does. So it reflects back into the atmosphere, increasing the temperature. So while building things is fantastic and great. You also have to keep in mind the environmental impact it's going to have and how it's going to increase the gas house emissions and how it's going to increase the temperature in that area, because over expansion into the industrial, it's not as good as people think, because it will in turn increase the temperature 5, 10, 15 degrees over 15 years. That's why we're seeing, summers that, the lows are 98 and the highs are 110 in Indiana, where it's never been that hot before.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona's talking about having 140-degree summers this year, and their water's drying up. They're not getting the rainfall they need. Same with Utah. I mean, there's a lot of issues going on that it's not just here, but when we look at here, it's like, okay, these are our issues, and they're big. They're huge, because keep in mind, we are a crosswind state now. Over the last 30 years, the winds in the United States have shifted slightly, so that Indianapolis is actually a focal point, a nexus for 3 different crosswinds, which is why Indiana and part of Michigan are now Tornado Alley. We are expected to get anywhere between 20 to 30 tornadoes easily in a slow summer. Last year we had multiples touch down. We had damage in Carmel. It was about 12 miles from where I live and 2 miles from one of my clients' houses, where it touched down and it destroyed everything. And it was actually across the street from where their mechanic was. So when they went to pick up their car, because the car was at the mechanic while the tornado was touched down, catty-cornered, the entire shop was destroyed. She almost lost her car that day.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, we've had to get more used to the fact that Indiana now gets more than 1 or 2 tornadoes a year, because when I moved here 25 years ago, maybe 1 or 2. But 25 years ago, they also predicted by 2030, we would be deep cemented in Tornado Alley, and we are. It's going up into Michigan now. Michigan never used to get tornadoes. Now they're expected to get 5 to 10 a year.
Yeah. Yeah, and that one that was up on the north side of that lake, there's a bunch of videos of. That was a horror film. It was a huge tornado, and just
and then when the
flattened
water
everything.
spout, and that's exactly it. Is it started as a water spout, and the water spouts are the most dangerous, because when they hit land, they are already at a significantly faster speed than normal tornadoes, and they pick up speed and size. They become twister. It's not just a tornado; it's a true twister, and it just destroys everything in its path. So it's one of those, like, that's some of the stuff that we may not have to worry about here, but our neighbors are having to worry about that. And it's one of those, we can see how, if you just sit there and connect the dots, how everything is tied together. And it falls back 100% on policies. It falls back on EPA, and it falls back on our representatives. For the last 30 years, 40 years, they have not really been doing what's best for the planet, for the people, for any of that. Because if they had, well, a lot of the things we're looking at now wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't be talking about Old Faithful possibly blowing sometime in the next decade. Why? Because they're trying to reopen the mines in Montana that are actually part of Old Faithful's lava veins. It's the whole reason why they closed them down in the 60s and 70s. That in and of itself, if it blows, will affect Indiana. So that, again, is one of those, that's something that we have to make sure on a national level that we are talking to the representatives, that the state level understands that if this happens, this is going to be the consequence to everybody else in this country. Are you still sure you want to go down that path? Because I don't think a lot of them really have sat down and thought through the implications of what they're deciding to do. Instead of kind of, we'll deal with that when that happens. Well, then make a plan now for when it happens, because it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's how do I get money in my pocket right now? Is really.
And don't get me wrong, we're all in that spot. Is how can I get money in my pocket today so I can pay my bills and don't have to rob Peter to pay Paul? It's not by taking those kind of handouts, and that's what those are. Those are handouts, because if you're getting your pockets lined by the corporations, by this people, by that person, those are handouts. You're not actually doing your job. You are working for somebody else.
Yep.
So, and then to back up to the diesel generator. So I did do a little research. Fort Wayne actually has one right now it runs on diesel. They have 36 diesel tanks. So 36 of them. Each one of those is a 6,000 gallon tank. So 6,000 gallons of diesel in each one of those 36. And that's what they use to power that data center. And that's a hyperscale.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, that is actually on the smaller end of the hyperscales.
Yeah, that is
So
definitely on.
it is. So, between that and then you have the water usage, which those data centers use between 1 and 5 million gallons of water a day, which is as much as a town between 10 to 50,000 people. Don't even
Yeah,
get me started
the
on data
water,
centers.
between the power and the water is it's crazy. Again, I don't know. I don't know how. Well, I think what's going to happen is one of these data centers is going to go is either going to drain a reservoir uh, like Eagle Creek is getting hooked up to the Leap District. Um,
Mhm.
so they're either going to like drain a reservoir, so it's like so obvious. Oh, where
Yeah.
did all the water go?
Well,
Or they're going
data
to
centers.
deplete the aquifer if they start using direct groundwater, and they'll deplete that, and then their whole thing will shut down because they won't have any cooling water at all, and they won't have a way to get it. Um, but I think short of one of those two like major things happening, nobody is going to understand those problems uh, until they happen.
Yeah.
And kind of the
And
same with the power is like
yeah.
one of us is going to have just like the data center is just going to shut down the whole grid uh, from overuse, and
Yep.
like the whole city of Indianapolis will be black, and they're going to be like, well, now what do we do?
Yep.
And like, oh, well, we can't put that data center back online. That's what we got to do, and then there's a whole nother mess that's going to come with that. Um, they're just it's not something to be rushed, and
Right.
I mean, we see it in home building, we see it in um, I mean, all kind. Just everyone's so greedy to get things developed, and I talked to a home builder here just south of us. They were wanting to develop, and I think maybe the brakes got put on, but they were wanting to develop a farm, a big parcel of farmland, and put 8 houses or something on it. But every one of the houses around that parcel, like their well typically goes dry
Right.
in the summer, and so they have to like order drinking water to
Right.
like I don't know if they inject it through their well into the aquifer. They obviously fill up their tanks that they do have above ground, but I kept noticing on next door. I'm like, why do all these people have dry wells? So I went into the well database and was like and looked up some of the ones that I could find, and I was like, oh, there is no aquifer here, or where well, here where I am physically in Bargersville, but in Union Township, just a couple miles south of us. I was like, no wonder their wells go dry. There's not really an aquifer here. So at one of the protests, or we went to the county commissioners for one of their meetings for, I think they needed approval to put 8 houses on here instead of 2 or 4. They have that like 10-acre requirement or something. So they wanted to waive that. They get more houses on there. And so I was talking to the builder there. I was like, there's not really an aquifer there for these homes to be on a well. And he's like, oh, we don't have to deal with water. Like, we don't have to provide water. If they want water, it's their responsibility to put a well in and do that. Like, well, I was like, well, I'll let you know. Like, you're going to have some really mad customers because it's either
Mhm.
going to their wells are going to go dry, or it's going to cost them another $25,000 to go deep enough to maybe not go dry as quickly. So maybe that got through to them, and that's why those houses haven't been built yet.
I don't know, but you know what? That's horrible. And unfortunately, that is showing where they don't care. It's, oh, that's not my job and responsibility. If they want that,
Yeah,
they can pay the money for it.
exactly.
Okay.
You're going to build a house with no water? Like that sounds great, and like not a cheap house. It's like $1 million home. So
Yeah. So I mean, and that's just it. Is a lot of times they're not the cheap houses. They're forcing the homeowners to pay more when in reality it should just be part of it.
I'm going to pause here.
He paused for just a second, guys. It's all good. So we have Michael Potter on. He is running for Indiana Council District 47. So we have PJ. He goes, my town has one of the highest concentration of data centers in New Jersey. So he is in New Jersey.
Okay.
And then Incubus goes, Eagle Creek has dropped almost 10 inches in the last year.
Yeah, I think all of our reservoirs have been pretty low. So what if
Guys, dropped as well.
PJ? What town in New Jersey is that? If you're still on,
He should be here.
I
PJ,
spent
what town are you?
I spent my summers down the shore. My family's all from New Jersey, so.
Secaucus?
Hmm?
He said Secaucus?
Oh, Sea Caucus. Okay. So
I almost pronounced it right.
yeah, that's where the Giants stadium, Giants Jet
yes.
Stadium is.
I know he's close to one of the stadiums.
I didn't realize there were data centers there.
That's just it. Is property taxes are nuts here. So a lot of the data centers, nobody knows they're data centers until after they're up and running, and they've been going for a while because of all the NDAs being signed.
Yeah.
So,
I just had a job at a data center. I didn't go to. I just had to send some people to go clean up a spill. But as I was looking at it and looking at who, what the business was there, and thankfully there was like really good Google imaging, not just from the street, but they actually like filmed around the parking lot. And we had the folks that hired us, they fill the generators, and these I think were truly backup generators because there were only 3 of them. But and it was like it almost looked like it was it looked like an office park. It was just one of the end caps to an office park. So it wasn't like super high roof or big warehouse. It looked just like, and it was in amongst other office buildings. But as I was looking, I'm like, man, this has no windows, has these giant generators back here. And then I saw a sign, and I can't remember what it was like like a phone company kind of thing. I don't remember which one, but I was like, oh, this is probably one of their data centers because we've always had data centers. They just weren't data campuses.
right.
I mean, all of our internet and internet providers, fiber optics, all that, like they have data storage, but always been in smaller buildings.
And that's just it. They've always been smaller because I play online video games, and a lot of them they store this server information in some of those smaller data servers where they can buy storage. They've been around for 20 years, but they've always been smaller little operations where they take up very little resource, so it doesn't matter. They're cool there, but it's not the hyperscale ones that they're trying to make now, which are taking up all the resources that, well, like I said earlier, the amount of water that one of them uses would, is the same amount that 10 to 50,000 people use in one day.
Yeah.
For one data center.
Yeah. So I've been regularly putting out on my LinkedIn because I work for 2 huge global engineering companies that build data centers. I don't know if they built any before I left, but they certainly do now. And but I figure if I keep putting it out on LinkedIn, like I need alternatives to data centers. I'm running for Indiana legislature. I know you all build great things that are sustainable. Who's building the great data centers out there? And I've read articles about data centers in Europe, and they pay their taxes, and they have alternative cooling and offset their energy uses with sustainable energy. So again, you can't really take solar and put it into a data center. It doesn't produce that fast. But again, if you use solar to offset the homes to create space on the grid, like that's another option. And at least you can start supplementing the energy that you're using, even if it's not a direct one-to-one. You can do something.
Yeah.
So I'm continuing, and one of the companies I work for had just put out on LinkedIn, like, oh, we did this successful data center, and I messaged them directly. Not that that division knows who I am, and I haven't worked for that company for a little while now, but it was like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I don't, when I come to a problem, I want to bring a solution. I don't want to just complain. Like, can you, tell me about, like, I work for you guys, so I know you have great engineers and scientists. Like, can you tell me about more sustainable designs in data centers? And they're like, yes, we will be in touch with you. So hopefully, maybe that's the first, because I haven't had any responses from like just putting it out there, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I'm looking for better data centers, and nobody replies. And I've seen companies post about data centers. I put it on that comment, like, hey, I'm trying to find a design like this. And nobody responds. So this is the first one that they're like, yeah, we do want to talk to you about this. So hopefully we can, because I want to, like, I live, or my district is Johnson County and Shelby County.
Mm-hmm.
And Shelby County has their, I think it's Google, is wanting to put a data center just outside of Shelbyville.
Google or Amazon. It's one of those two.
Yeah, pretty sure it's Google.
There's a map I was looking at, and it went by color, and then it also like listed who it was that wanted to try to build there. And like the red ones were the ones that are already in construction, and this color was already completed. And it's like, okay, there's a lot of them, and I don't like this.
There's so many more. Like we talk in each of our communities, we're like, oh yeah, we have them on both sides. Mooresville or Monrovia they're starting building, and that's Google also, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shelby, both on the edges of my district. Nothing in my district so far. Yep. But I'm happy to go fight with both of them and support their causes. I want to be able to bring a solution because we are going to continue to use data more and more, whether it's AI, whether it's in science and engineering, building rockets, or doing whatever we do, including gaming, which is fun to do.
I love it. Attack on Titan t-shirt, Pikachu behind me, a barrel over here. Like, I'm a gamer, I'm a nerd.
Yeah. So we need to come up with a good solution. I feel like in Indiana we can put them underground.
There you go.
If we can put a poop tunnel underground, we can put a data center underground.
I never even thought of that, and that would cancel out the noise pollution.
It help with the noise. It help with temperature control.
It would, because it's so much colder than the ground, and it's not taking any heat from the direct sun.
Yeah.
Hey, I think you may have just come up with a solution, because here's the thing is, when you come to the table, there's the problem. How many people actually come with any sort of solution or idea how to fix it? Very few. And my dad was always the one who told me, he goes, baby girl, he goes, if you see a problem, that's fine. He goes, but if you want to bring it up to somebody, he goes, have a solution too. Even if it's not a great solution, have a solution, because at least it gets the conversation started.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly it. I never even thought of putting them underground. Huh.
And they don't have to go like deep underground.
No, they don't.
They don't even have to put a roof on that sustain. Like, you could have a foot of dirt on top of it, or you could build a solar field over the top of it. And
to help supplement energy.
To help supplement the energy, or ship that energy again to the residents in proximity. My initial kind of foray into that was, go ahead.
Would wind turbine actually generate more energy, or would solar?
I don't know. You can do both.
I would think possibly both, because I know that the wind turbines do generate a lot of energy. I know they're not pretty. That's why Trump doesn't want them, but they're super effective. Yeah.
Yep. And you have to have the right wind.
Right.
I always tell this story is there's a gas station we would work on in Kentland, Indiana. And, I mean, it would be the nicest day out, and driving from Indy over to Kentland's north of Lafayette, and up in the corridor where there are now windmills.
Mhm.
And but we were going up there before the windmills, and it would just be the nicest day. And like, soon as you got like past Lafayette and you start to get to Kentland, and every time you're out there on the ground working, the wind is just howling through there. It's like, where are we? What? Why is I've never felt wind like they have here in Kentland? And
Yep.
go figure. That's scientifically a thing that they
Yep.
have. Uh,
But that's just it is. Indiana has wind tunnels like that all over it, and that's what they're called. Is when you have areas where the wind just blows nonstop and it's fierce.
Yeah.
That's a wind tunnel. And with us being the crosswind state, with having 3 different crosswinds come in, we have the one coming up from Kansas and Missouri into us. We have the one coming from North Carolina all the way up, which was shown with Helena. And then we have the one coming down from, Michigan, Illinois, that's come down from Canada. So we get super cold wind coming from there while we get warmer wind coming up from there, which is why we have so many wind tunnels. It's why we get tornadoes. It puts us in a perfect position to capitalize on wind turbines because of that.
Yeah. Although I don't feel like where we are here, it might be good for like a residential wind, but
Right.
not the big one. I don't think we get enough wind around here.
And you might not. You might
I don't
not
know
in
where.
that
I don't
area.
know what the cutoff. I'm actually kind of surprised. Every year I do something new in my job. I'm surprised I've never been out with the pole doing the like wind measurements anywhere. Uh, I see on the comments, Incubus
Right.
solar's less maintenance and cost compared to windmills. I agree. We have solar on our house, and it's crazy. It's like just free energy. It's so weird.
So PJ goes, exactly. No one knows what they are. We have maybe 20 in a 4-square-mile town. We've had fires at a few of them over the last couple of years. If you ask me, they should be restricted from building data centers within at least 25 miles of a town. Solar, less maintenance cost compared to windmills. And that's how it is up north here.
It is pretty
I don't know.
wild that we have so much
Give it to them,
farmland
what's
and
the-
so much space, and then they end up putting these things like right next to stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
I bet
It's
you
like-
can find a lot that's like buffered from anyone other than
Right.
the one farmer. Although those are a lot of the farmers that are looking to get out because they see the cities taking them over,
Mhm.
so they're like, let me get out of here. Anyone that's that far out in the country, they're like, no, we're keeping our farm.
So, speaking of energy and utilities, this is something that Ethan brought up, and I've been doing my research, and it's about utility companies and the fact that BlackRock has been buying up all of Indiana's utility companies, and they currently have a monopoly. Oh no,
Yeah.
I spent my time 17 tabs in. I found boop and owned by this, and that is actually this, and this, and this, and that board member is actually a board member of BlackRock. Oh fuck, that's how it ties to. Like I was doing the 7 steps of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. Well, and it was like literally like the day that the law was officially signed or officially blocked, because
Mhm.
we tried to push one that would say no, you can't sell off our utilities. But like as soon as that was canceled, then boom, they like finalized the sale. Like,
Yep.
yep,
And then
we knew that was coming.
all that's going to do is actually hurt our citizenry, because when they have a monopoly, they can charge whatever they want, and there's nothing anybody can do. So
Yeah.
a lot of those, they're going to end up charging the citizenry to pay for the data centers, which is why a lot of people have already started seeing increases in their prices. One of my friends, she lives in southern India, down in your district actually. And she goes, her bill went up $150, and it's just her. There's no one else in the house, just
Wow.
her, and she turns everything off. And she goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. She goes, I can't imagine a family who actually like is home all the time.
Yeah. Well, there's something.
Yeah.
I haven't broken down our bill, but our last cycle was really high, and I've seen a lot of people commenting on this that their new bills coming are like significantly lower than the previous cycle. So I don't know if, and I think it was shown in the news. Was it Duke? Like admitted to overcharging one of the utility provider, or NIPSCO, I think it was,
Okay.
up north. Like admitted, oh yeah, we overcharged. Like, what? Like, why? What's going on? But it was like a billing. Uh,
Right.
well, so they say, a billing
A billing
algorithm issue.
issue. Hence the quotations, because are we sure it was?
Yeah. No, they were like, okay, we can't get away with that big of a increase. So
Right.
everyone could see that. So we'll make our increases smaller next time.
Yep.
I'm sure it
And
was
that's
them.
exactly when it jumps more than $10 or $15, people tend to notice.
Yeah, yeah. You can't exactly pay. Like, who just? Oh, I just happen to have an extra $200
Yeah,
sitting
to
around.
pay for electricity, and it's like, but wait, what? And when you look, you like, but we actually used less than we did last month. How is it more expensive?
Yeah, and that's what I need to go through ours because we have solar. We don't have a battery, so we only get the benefit during the day, but it still offsets 70% of
And
our costs.
that's worth it. That's totally worth it.
It's yeah,
Now, let's talk about housing and affordability.
yeah,
So, things that people have to realize is in Indiana, since 2020, the price of housing has gone up by 42%, and that has also increased the amount of interest that most of the mortgage companies pay as well, or charge as well. So we are seeing an increase in housing and an increase in mortgage loans and their rates. We've also seen a 7% increase in homelessness in 2025 alone. That is just last year. And mind you, that is across the state, but it affects every county. There's counties that going through is like, yeah, some of them are spiking, some of them are up at 10%, and some of them are still sitting down by 2%. So the average is 10% across
mhm,
this, or sorry, 7% across the state, which is still a lot. And then on top of that, we have roughly 209,000 low income families, but there's only roughly about 70,000 available or affordable homes. So we have enough housing for a third of the people who need it and don't have it. There is no reason a small town farm single family bedroom home is over 400,000. Yeah. Like we were talking about that. We bought our house for 119. We got an offer for 260. If we actually fixed our house up and didn't sell it as is, we could get 350 easily. It's a 3-bedroom house. It is a
yeah,
tiny little, it is not huge. It is about location. We live in the part of Noblesville by Norris Lake that is expanding. So but it's jacking up, and it's one of those, okay, great, it's a seller's market. But what happens if we sell our house and we need to go buy? We're not gonna be able to afford it because everything is going up. We're gonna have to downsize to be able to afford it.
yeah,
But that's the business. If you're selling your house, and you have a family and you're growing, why are you downsizing? Because that's the only thing you can afford.
yeah. I think housing is another thing that we've seen in kind of the American lifestyle that we've sort of bastardized, and like people buy houses like they buy cars, and they're like, oh, I'll have it for 3 years, and then I got to buy a new house. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I see that all the time. Like people are moving around, and like, "What? You just bought that house. Why you move?" And there's reasons people move and jobs and whatnot, but I feel like more than ever, people move or change houses very frequently. And I don't have any statistics on that. That's just my feeling. Like, our parents
I think
stayed in a
it's
home like our entire childhoods, and I don't feel like I see that with my friends and raising their children. They maybe moved 2 or 3 times, but I mean, I've moved a number of times and been involved in a number of housing purchases. Part of that's divorce, and moving around. So I don't know if that's true or not. And then I feel like now, certainly living in the suburbs, there's not a lot of tolerance for housing density. So everyone wants to be spread out, living in their own house, and that's great, but that's expensive. It's expensive to build the infrastructure to get out to those homes. Um, so it also adds to the tax burden, and apartment complex that gets water to it. It's running a mile long pipe for water to get water to 100 residents. But if you build a single family home that same mile away, then you get four people, one resident, but they run the same amount of pipe. So really, that tax on that home should be a lot higher because it had to run that mile of pipe to get water to it than what each individual resident of the apartment complex. They're able to split that mile long pipe installed by 100.
Yeah.
Although you don't see that in your taxes necessarily.
Right.
So I think we need to look a little bit more into building some density around our towns, and that supports a lot of things. That supports walkability, and jobs that you can walk to. It creates more, housing units, hopefully affordable. And then I don't know if there's a great solution to the single family home affordability. I don't know if we've maybe just abused that or something. But to have these neighborhoods that are built out without a single, there's almost no resource there. There's no store. There's no convenience store. There's no jobs. And so maybe in our single family home neighborhoods, we need to design them in a different way that has some piece of commercial to it. Again, something that would support. I don't know if it's a laundromat's not the right thing. It's probably going to be a service job of some sort. Restaurants out front. I don't know.
I know here down the street we have a small strip mall, and the strip mall has it's got a pizza place, it's got a diner, it's got 2 or 3 other small little shops right there, and it's got a little mom and pop grocery store. So if you need milk or eggs or bread at 10 o'clock at night and Kroger's closed, they're still
sleeping in his new bed.
Oh, good.
The dog bed.
And I know that in of itself is great because there's another way where there's another small strip mall that has a gas station. So I know in Noblesville, they have these little small pockets where it's just this little small lot. It's got a small gas station. It's got 3 or 4 little, convenience things right there so that you don't have to drive the extra 5 or 6 miles to actually get to the grocery store because the closest one is Kroger and it's 10 miles away.
Yeah.
And there's little
Incubus says, the level of houses built are tomorrow's slums today. The quality of homes it may be something to do with it in that they can't be sustained for 50 years.
Well, and that's the other thing is the quality of the wood that they use, and they'll even tell you the wood that was used in the 90s or before. Those houses are much sturdier than anything that's been built in the last almost 30 years. It's because of the quality of the wood that they're using. They're not using the same kind of hardwoods. Before they were using hardwoods that had actually been growing for hundreds of years. Now they're using woods that have been fast grown for a decade.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is part of the problem when it comes to sustainability with the houses. And I know Ender said, why is it so hard for them to build more supply? And that is part of it. But the other part of it you have to keep in mind is Indiana has this really bad problem with foreign investors coming in, buying up the land, and then jacking up the prices on everything. They're buying up the houses in the subdivision where I live. And there's so many houses that are for rent right now because they've been bought up by foreign investors. Mm-hmm. So that money is not actually going back into the American economy. It's not going back into our state or local. The money that's being paid in rent is going overseas because these are foreign investors that are buying up land and then jacking up the prices, making it a lot harder for Americans to actually buy houses in this state. That's part of the reason why it's about 42%. A lot of other states have only seen a 1 or 2, maybe 3% increase in the last 5 years, whereas we've seen almost a 50% increase.
Yeah, there's definitely. They come in taking advantage of the fact that we had this affordable housing, which we've loved for years. And, if anything would help our businesses is to have affordable housing for their workers. But people have seen that, and all you have to do is look to Columbus, Ohio, certainly Chicago, Louisville, St. Louis. so our nearest neighbors have expensive housing, certainly Chicago, and so like, well, why don't we just artificially make Indiana like their surrounding neighbors, and like nobody will be able to tell the difference because it'll just
Mhm.
look like everyone else. Well,
Mhm.
the people of Indiana will know. Well, who cares? Like is basically what they're saying. So they've come in, and we've let them come in and buy these things up. That's certainly a big part of the problem, because that takes
Yeah.
out. Uh, they're not even when they rent them. It's not even at an affordable rent. So it's not like, oh, you're doing them a favor by providing all this affordable rentals. No, they're incredibly expensive rentals, and
Yeah.
yeah, you know, there's always been a big push for like single family homes. That's like the American thing, and you buy a home and you raise your family. I think that's a little bit of a lie. I don't find a lot of great satisfaction in owning a home and having a yard and spending my weekends cleaning up that yard and planting things and tearing things down and
See, that's when you do what I did, and I just sprinkled wildflowers all over my front yard and told them, no, it's just a garden.
yeah, well,
There's a
we're
lot
we're
of
working on that.
asters. Why? Because I'm at to the point where I'd rather just feed the bees. I'd rather have wildflowers for my front yard, and we're just lining it with rocks to give the whole. It's just one big garden. I decided to turn my entire front yard into one big garden.
Yeah, well,
So
I
we only
mean
have to do the backyard.
that's what we should do. Why do we have this grass? Like, there's another
That's
whole
just
chemical
nothing.
pollution thing
Yep.
and
So
invasive
believe it or not,
grass.
it does very little. It does very little with oxygen production. It does very little with cleaning carbon dioxide out of the air. It is food for some creatures, but most creatures don't eat grass. They eat the weeds, they eat the flowers, they eat everything else but grass. So having the flowers, in turn, believe it or not, they help to actually absorb the carbon dioxide and remit, oxygen, just like trees do. So it's one of those, yeah, having flowers is so much better for the environment than just having grass. Plus, it looks prettier.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love a perfectly manicured yard. It's gorgeous to look at. I'd rather have a bunch of flowers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that was all developed out of Europe, and that's how kings and
Yep.
lords showed their wealth was to have this big. They're so rich that they can just waste the land on a bunch of meaningless grass. And we brought that over here, and we've maintained it. It's like, and we like enforce it on people, and especially in new
Oh,
neighborhoods
we have an
with
HOA that.
HOAs. Like, you need to keep it
Yeah.
this long, and this. It's
Yep.
like that's not. When I think of owning a home, that's not what I want to be spending my time doing. Is mowing the lawn to
Do
meet
you
a
want to
HOA
know?
standard.
I went to one of the HOA meetings, right? And I was giving my whole spiel about saving the bees and the whole my front yard is actually a garden. Do you know how many other people in our subdivision are there? They're putting rocks in their. Oh, it's just a garden now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're not weeds. I just have dandelions and clover in order to feed the bees. And I'm like, you get it. They're like, God, you gave me an excuse to not have to mow my front yard. Thank you. I'm like, you're welcome. Just throw out some asters, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So she goes, I'm 27. I still live with my mom and my dad. He goes, I don't think I'll ever own a home. Very discouraging with this economy. And then Mia goes, what's your opinion about companies are buying up available housing and renting them for ridiculous amounts, contributing to the price and unavailability? And that's kind of what we were just talking about, is the fact that, yes, there's foreign investors and corporations and companies that are buying up the housing. There are studio apartments right next to where I work that are $150,000 a month. No, not 150. Oh, good Lord. That's the other thing. It is 1,500 a month. I had an extra zero. My bad.
Yeah, for a studio.
Yeah, for a studio. Tiny little apartment. And I'm like, that's more than we pay for our house. We pay $1,200 a month for our house. Our neighbors, same size houses, $1,800, $2,000, if not more, because of the fact that they've been bought and jacked up and now they're renting. And their rent is out. It's just ridiculous. And I'm sitting there going, even if they try to buy, they can't, because they have to have X amount for the down payment, and they can't afford that. They don't have $35,000 to put down as a down payment. They maybe have 15, which is all you should need to buy a house in the area where I live, because these houses are only worth maybe 100, maybe 120, not 350.
Yeah.
If even with inflation, maybe 150. It should have appreciated a little bit, but not as much as it did. Almost
It's crazy.
triple what we.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You know, why are they not building enough homes to keep up with the demand? A lot of that comes down to pricing, availability, and people being able to afford it. People cannot afford $400,000, $500,000 homes. They can barely afford $150,000 homes. So they're trying to find the homes that are $70,000, and you're getting little rinky-dink studio homes where the bed is in the living room.
Well, and then
That's
you
what they
probably
can
have to do a bunch of work too. Hey, I gotta
Yep.
go on pause here, real
Yep,
quick.
you're fine.
To say,
Hey, G-Bone, welcome in, guys. So, yeah. We're going to get caught up with all the comments because I do want you guys involved. And I love the fact that you guys are commenting and being involved. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you coming and hanging out with me today. So we do have Michael Potter on. He is running for Indiana Congress, District 47. So that is in southern Indiana. It's one of those, even if a representative is not running in your specific area, it is still good to know what they are running for, what their platform is, because believe it or not, when it comes to laws, they're going to be one of 47 people or one of 70 people or one of, I think there's actually 92 districts in Indiana. So it's good to know all of the representatives in your state, to know how all of the representatives are going to vote, because even if they're not in your district, it's good to know you have people who have your back in other parts of the state too, who want the best for everybody, not just the people in their districts. Now, yes, representatives are focused on their districts, don't get me wrong, but it is the small part of overreaching. So they focus on the small part, but at the same time, when they have to sit down and make laws, they have to look at the overreaching part of what's going to be best for everybody in their state, including the people in their district. So we have, and then why are they not building up? The level of houses built are tomorrow's slums today. Wood is harvest is too early. Yep. Okay, so PJ, from the firefighting perspective, because he is a volunteer firefighter in New Jersey, the wood is treated now not true dimensional, lots of chemicals. And that's true. That is part of the problem, is a lot of those houses, the wood is treated with a lot of chemicals, and it's not sustainable. It's the same reason worker loyalty doesn't exist anymore. No company is loyal to their workers or consumers anymore. And that's just it. It's the fact that you don't use the term consumer, because consumer companies don't care about consumers. We are customers. There are still companies out there that care about their customers. That is the people that come in and willingly make the choice to spend their money there, knowing they're going to get good service in return. I'm going to use a mechanic, perfect example. My EVAP system. $3,000 later, it is finally fixed. I ended up taking my car into the same place 6 times. And by the time we were done, I sat down, and the manager, he apologized his ass off because we should have checked this. We should have checked this. He goes, I am so sorry. He goes, we have a lot of new trainees and a lot of new mechanics, and we're trying to get them up to speed as quick as possible. I said, no, I said, the fact that you sat down, you explained to me, and you took ownership and accountability for the fact that everything wasn't caught the first time and I had to keep bringing it back in. And then you didn't charge me for labor. You just charged me for the parts. Thank you. Thank you for treating me like I'm a human being. Thank you for not treating me like I'm a consumer and a number. Thank you for treating me like I'm a person. And thank you for valuing my time and my money. Thank you. Because we don't get a lot of that anymore. A lot of it's, well, they're just one person. It doesn't matter because we get billions of customers every day. We get billions of consumers. We get consumers. They look at us like we're just profit. It's the customers. When they look at us like we are customers, that it is a huge difference, that compassion and the care is there. That's what a lot of people are looking for, especially in the representatives, that the compassion and the care for someone else is there, not just for yourself. Hi,
Yeah.
G-Bone. And also, extreme spending is causing inflation, which makes everything costly. Not wrong. So Incubus says he paid $65,000 for his house in Zionsville, and you can't find a lot for that today. No, you're right. And right now we do have empty houses, but nobody can afford moving in and buying, or they go against their lease because they can't afford it. Yep. Especially with rent being $1,500 to $2,000 a month in the cheaper areas. Yep. And that's what we're seeing here, where we pay $1,200 and we've been in our house for 15 years. Actually, Dan's been in it for 17. There's no way we could live in the same neighborhood today and pay today's prices. We could not afford it. We have to go to one of the other areas where the houses are for sale for 150,000, and they are not great at neighborhoods. They are not places where you want to send your kids to school at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the reality of living in Indiana, and it's not great. This is supposed to be a state that's affordable. That's the thing about part of the Midwest. This was supposed to be one of those affordable states that people who had lower incomes could go to and actually work their way back up to being successful. It's not happening anymore. Instead, they're taking that little bit of profit that people are getting and taking it from us.
Yeah, well, these private equities coming in and just like, oh, look at all this cheap housing. We can buy 100 units or 1,000. Probably 1,000. Like in New Jersey, we could buy 100, but in Indiana, we can buy 1,000. So let's go there, and then we'll jack up the prices to New Jersey prices, and we'll take all the profit. It'd be great.
Yep.
So yeah,
And
we definitely.
it's one of those.
I don't know if we can. I think even like say, well, what law can you put in? And I'm sure we could put some protections in about private equity buying up so many homes in a neighborhood or a town or a county. But I still think it would be hard to roll back the prices at this point. Might be able to kind of fix them, but it's hard to get it to where they were before this system got all out of whack.
Yeah, and the thing is we may never be able to drop them back to where they were prior to the pandemic, but it should drop a little bit. We should be able to do something to at least stabilize the market so they don't keep increasing, because it's one of those, like, the fact that it's gone up 42% in the last 5 years, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Like I said, we moved into this house 17 years ago, and if we were to sell it today fixed up, it'd be worth 3 times the amount that we paid for it. And it's not a big house. Yeah. It's a tiny house.
No, we had, it was single family, but it was like 4 houses shared a single driveway kind of thing. It's kind of like a condo, but there was no connecting walls. But and that was officially Blythe's owned that house, and when we sold it to come over here where we are now, we did pretty well, and we were in a good spot because we weren't looking to move, but this house came available, and White Salon and Spa is right across the street, and so she was then able to walk to work, and but most importantly, we were able to move on this house really quickly and didn't get in any kind of bidding wars or anything.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we got a pretty good deal, and we used our extra money to put solar on the house.
I love that.
Which is something we'd been wanting to do for a long time, but never had really that cash to do it.
And Dave and I have talked about doing solar as well. It's like, it's the initial investment. It's coming at the money.
It's a lot. We needed that kind of sort of windfall amount to be able to do it. It's hard to get into. So, I'd like to see programs that help people get into that to get off the grid, because we see what's happening with fuel in general, or energy, and I don't want to be held captive by the power companies. So
by coal, by natural gas, by fossil fuel, we need to go forward. We need to find a better way to produce energy that's cleaner, that's greener, and is more effective. Because what we're doing, it's effective, but it's not really effective. There are better ways to go about doing it. I know PJ has talked about the nuclear, which we touched on earlier. But the downside of that is, what do we do with the waste? I know that they are starting to figure out ways to utilize the waste for other things, but that's still early in its concept. What do we do with all the waste until then?
Yeah, we have things. We have places. Obviously, we've had nuclear power, so we have storage. They have places for them to go, but historically, state governments like Indiana don't hold companies accountable. And then the companies, either they don't hire qualified people or they just don't care, and they are bad stewards of the environment. So if we can get it to the the storage waste locker, we're probably going to be okay. But I'm more
Right.
worried about it when it's in the hands of the local
The
company
transit,
or power
from one
company.
place to another, and yeah,
Yeah,
before it
and
actually gets.
even the transport, because I deal with a lot of transporters of hazardous waste, and again, I trust them. It's just that local good old boys group that put this in place. It's like, don't worry about that. Like, because one mistake there, if you drip, um, or even tip over a full tanker of diesel fuel, I mean, that's probably not even going to get into your drinking water. But if you did like that volume of radioactive material in the wrong place, uh, or it caught on fire, or so it dusted up in some way, like you're really causing uh, some practically irreversible damage. Uh,
Right.
Again, so my argument is we just haven't been good stewards of the environment. So I'm really hesitant to bring in something that's so much more damaging to the environment uh, that we will take longer to clean up and be more expensive to clean up and all that sort of thing. Uh, and then if we have multiple nuclear facilities around the state or the country, um, and you start to get into a volume thing where it's like something's bound to happen just
Exactly.
by the number, the statistics of it all. So yeah, I think it is a great way to generate electricity, but we need to show that we respect it. And I haven't seen that from most of the business owners or you know politicians and whatnot of our country.
Yep. So we have Ender saying, "Is there any solutions he would try to pass in Indiana?"
I think that's for the housing, or is that just in general?
In general.
Any solutions you would try to pass?
And then Incubus
Yeah.
was stating that building supplies skyrocket because of the overbuilding of housing. So so it is with housing.
I would to try to answer that. I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I don't. I don't know. I don't feel like I have the right key to put in that lock to unlock the solution. I think one thing, and I think at least legislation was written. I'm not sure if it went through anything, but to limit access to how many homes can be bought in a neighborhood, county, town sort of thing. I think that's one place to start. By private equity. These need to be, if
Yep.
they're single family homes.
Investors, anything like that. That's
Right.
not an individual. Ooh, not an individual.
Needs to be by an individual. And then even at that, any one individual maybe can only own so many. And again, I don't know if that's 5 or 10. Because what a company will do is they'll just start breaking off individuals from
Yeah,
their
and putting them
company.
under people's names.
Yeah,
Yep.
and like here you go, and
Having
now you own
companies,
these.
umbrella companies, and yep.
Yep. So we have to kind of think a couple steps ahead in that. But so just limiting the amount that a non-family entity can own.
Beautiful.
I don't know that I'm buy into like price fixing. I think the market needs to sort of take care of himself. Believe it or not, we're talking about, like, because you asked, like legislation to write and to control things. I'd prefer not to, right? Like, let's let the market, let's let the people, and all that kind of stuff. So I am not a big, like, the government needs to be this overarching watchdog of everyone. But
We need
that
the
being
free market.
said,
Always gonna do the customer.
if we don't, people are like taking advantage of other people, and so I do see it as a protection. Again, we're only as great as the least wealthy, or the smallest house, or whatever, the least of us. So we need to make sure we're lifting up uh, from the bottom. There was historically lots of talk about trickle down economics and all this money going to corporations. It doesn't work. I mean, oh, you don't know. We lived it. that was the thing from the 70s, 80s, Reagan,
We've been living it for the last
and at
40,
no
60
point has it shown up to where
That's not
like
what.
employees are getting better results or homeowners are getting. There's like no scenario that's better by
Right.
paying the company, except for the CEO or the
Right.
owners. Like they've made more money because they didn't trickle down; it went right into their pocket.
Right. That's the reason why they're talking about record profits for the 50th year in a row.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing I like more than when like one of our like basic necessities reports that they're making record profits, like the gasoline, the coal, the energy companies. Like you're not
Yeah.
supposed to be making profit off of this.
No.
Now, gasoline, sure, you can make money off of that. I mean, yeah, we need cars, but I'd like to get around. I'd like to make more pedestrian friendly public transportation. Again, it's another thing Indiana's just totally missing the boat on. It's
God.
obviously
Public
it's laid out
transportation.
like perfectly to have public transportation, not only around Indianapolis but then out to Bloomington and
And all
Fort
the smaller
Wayne, the
towns like
region,
Fishers and,
every
from Fishers down to Indianapolis or back up. I mean, we really do actually have, believe it or not, the basic infrastructure for it. But Indiana is so bad about all of its public services,
yeah,
especially public transportation.
yeah, and I mean even one of the legislators wanted to like put in a law for the whole state that you couldn't like build public transportation along a road that would interfere with traffic. It's like because he was mad that he on his way into the state house he would get held up in traffic for the new bus lines in Indianapolis. So he wanted to make a law that would stop that from happening.
So
Like
leave your house 10 minutes earlier.
yeah,
You'll avoid
or
it.
ride the public transportation.
Or
That's
better
what
yet,
it's there for.
because
So
I do. I know people who they live in New York and they don't have drivers. They have IDs, but they've never driven a car.
sure,
They don't have
yeah,
a driver's license. They've never
yeah.
taken a driver's test. They just do public transportation. And I looked at them and I said, "So what happens when you go to another state?" Because welcome to the Midwest, where ain't nothing in walking distance. You're gonna drive about 30 minutes anywhere you want to go. Why? Because everything is spread out.
Well, we don't even have good public transportation from the airport to downtown.
No, we don't. We
Now,
don't.
is it the purple or blue? Maybe it's the blue line. I think that's supposed to go eventually out. So you get take a bus
Yep.
from the airport into downtown. So that may help.
Hopefully, but it's just one of those. But that is still, it's an overarching problem that's been a problem for decades. I noticed it back when I was a teenager that, oh, the public transportation in this state is bad. The public transportation in Washington was fantastic. It's like,
Yeah.
but yes, the best part is every time I would say something like that, I would be told, but Indiana's better. I'm like, no, it's not.
No,
No, it's not. No, it's not.
it's better. I
There's
mean,
so
if
many
you have a
people.
car and the ability to drive, and
Right.
if you have a wheelchair, a walker, uh, blindness. I mean, it is hard to get around. Like our sidewalks are terrible. Our access to sidewalks, our access to buildings, it's all just terrible.
Mhm.
Like there was no thought except for able-bodied people.
Yep.
Able-bodied car drivers is like the whole state is set up for.
Mm-hmm. And then Miath goes, with our society, policies, and politics and businesses, we have a very bad habit of doing things with little or no plan or research. You're not wrong with that. You are not wrong. There's a lot of things that end up going through that after the fact were really bad because nobody did the research and nobody put a plan in place to do it. They just said, oh, this sounds great. It sounded great on paper. Now, how are you going to do it?
Yeah. Even redistricting, which was just total politics. I think it was voted down more, not for the residents, the citizens, but more because those guys that voted against it, the Republicans that voted against it, felt like they were going to have more competition if it was redistricted than if it just stayed how it was. Because it seemed there were definitely districts in there where it was like, that may hurt you more than it helps. Although I think every single vote is going to hurt the Republicans in 26.
Oh, yeah. And I have a good feeling that a lot of those seats are going to turn blue, because here's the thing that most people don't realize is I would put money down on the fact that our state went blue for the presidential election. I know it said they went red, but here's the thing. There is a clip that if you search hard enough, you can find of Elon Musk back in September of 2025 admitting that they need to investigate any county in any state that has 50 or less votes for Kamala Harris, because those are the ones that were tampered with. Out of his mouth.
Well, and yeah, Trump also said if I didn't have Musk helping me, I wouldn't
have won.
I wouldn't have won.
No, because Musk even admitted, and this was after they
And
had
he
their
said
fight.
because he knows those machines, his computers,
Yep.
he knew how to take care of the computers. Like,
Yep. And so
what are you saying,
Musk
old
told
man?
them, Musk told them where to look to get the evidence of what they needed to find to impeach him for stealing the election.
Yeah.
And there's been independent counters who've gone through and they're recounting state by state, and most of the states, they did not go red. They went blue. They went blue by a large margin. That's what happens when they hand count and recount every vote. They're going through, well, it's blue here, but red is red. So it's blue for Harris, but the system was reading that blue as a red anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure for a programmer and hacker, it wouldn't be hard to say, when they push this button, make it do this instead of this.
And that's exactly it. It's all about coding. And he even admitted, look at those ones, because those are going to be the ones that they manipulated. And it's like, we have them sitting here and saying the things out loud and admitting this stuff. Why are we not holding them accountable when they're admitting the stuff? Yeah. And I know Incubus said, shouldn't our lawmakers be held accountable for the bad deals they accommodate? Yes, they should. And just like with anything else, like what I'm talking about right now, they need to be held accountable. The people who have power in our country, if they are doing things like that, they need to be held accountable. If they are purposely pushing through bad deals, knowing that it's going to affect the citizenry in a bad way, their constituents in a bad way, yes, they need to be held accountable for that. And that's part of what we're trying to do right now is, okay, well, if we can't hold them accountable in other ways, we're going to at least get them out of office so they can't keep doing it. That's one way.
Well, that's the number one way to keep them accountable is to vote. And again, we started out talking about this. Is we got to figure out how to get people to vote. Whether it's getting people more exciting to vote for than myself, then we need to find those people. Or, I mean, I really think our election day should be a holiday.
Oh, yes. No, I believe that it should be day off of work and it should be a paid day off work and everybody paid to go vote. Yeah. Because here's the thing is, it's not just a right anymore. It is an obligation. And if you read the forefathers' writings, they talked about how we were obligated to use our voices, obligated to do the right thing, and obligated to fight for the right. That was our obligation. So it's our obligation to use our voice and vote.
Yeah, I think if everyone would vote, and I don't know, I could go either way on the electoral college.
Right.
I really just could. We don't need to go down that train right now. Although for me, like it's straight voting for me. I don't have an electoral college, so we just need to get people to go vote. And we win some and we lose some, and that's fine. But it really is frustrating to lose when less than 50% of the people vote. It's like,
and that's the thing is, doing the research, there's some counties where only 35% of their people go out and vote, and there's some where it's 65%, and the average is about 52.4, if I remember correctly. So 52, 53% of people actually go out and vote in their midterms. That's a problem, but that's why I'm doing this is because, well, until I started doing this, I didn't know you existed. I didn't know Ethan existed. I didn't know Blythe existed. I didn't know any of you existed. And then I'm like, well, you know what? I had a conversation with Ethan. He was really awesome and really charismatic back in December, and I told him I'd like to have him on. We finally got the date scheduled for the 4th, and it's just been, lightning since then. Yeah. And it's one of those, I wanted to do it because there's so many people that don't know who's representing them. There's so many people who have no clue what their platform is. Or as Meow says, I think most voters are discouraged anymore because people go unheard or the person they voted for reneges on what they promised.
Yeah.
You're right.
But then we don't vote, and they get voted in again for going against what they did. So
Yep.
I would like to think, and I am 100% guilty of this. When up until really probably about 10 years ago, I started voting more diligently, and then getting involved, first my wife
Yep.
and then myself, in running for office. Uh, and then I've seen it's one, like we talked about earlier. There's tons of Democrats in Indiana. It's certainly a toss up, or it's a purple state. But any
It really
election
is.
could be a toss up if the Democratic folks would get out and be a little more vocal for
Yep.
their candidates, and we need to do a better job of putting good candidates for you to get vocal about.
Mhm.
There is a voice in the party that is, we're not going to, if we're not going to win, don't run. It's like that's
But
terrible
here's the
advice.
thing: you can't win if you don't run.
You
How do you
can't
know you're
win
not
if
going
you
to
don't run. And
give
we need to
somebody a
be,
little bit of feeling?
there's a very good chance that I'll run. I ran in
Mhm.
24, I'll run in 26, likely run in 28. There's a good chance I won't win any of them. But we're we're growing more Democrats in Johnson County, and I hope to, through this, at least start to pick up folks, and I have picked up some, but pick up more that get interested in the process. They want to get involved, and really, then somebody who wants to get involved for House District 47 that I can mentor, tell them what I did right and wrong, and help them win it, right? And so you have to start somewhere. Some place that you call it a messenger candidate. So my job for the next 6 years or 8 years is simply to keep the message going, so that if somebody comes um, in 2030 or 2020, I mean, if a good person comes to me and like, hey, I'm going to primary you, I may just say, okay, like you just run by yourself. I don't need to run. I'll run for something else. If you have the passion
You
and the
got
drive
your
to go
got
do
my
it.
support. I'll get my people behind you. Let's do this.
Yeah, like, and hopefully you're not starting here now. You're starting here,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can get advancing so far. And the Democrats had just lost that over the years, and they just felt like, well, if I can't come in and win, then what's the point? The point is we've nearly lost the entire party. And I've talked to many progressives who are like, well, we need to start our own party and do it. Like, you can start your own party, but then you'll get like less votes. Like,
Right.
we can take over the Democratic Party if the progressives can, just by voting in primaries.
Just by actually
right?
going out and trying to win. That is how you do it.
Well, they
It's-
go well,
here's the
but you probably heard about the folks in Indianapolis or Marion County who've been shut out from being like precinct chairs and delegates because they
Yeah.
didn't vote in the last two Democratic primaries.
Yeah.
So we need to do that, right? Even if that's the only reason. Like, you don't care about the election, or we don't, you don't care which of your. It's really the folks going to Congress, our
Right.
congressional House of National House of Representatives or Federal House of Representatives candidates that have primaries. Very Democrats don't have many sheriffs out there, or auditors or clerks, or we need to. You've got to fill up all those spots and run for everything, and we got to build the team back up.
Yep.
A lot of the county parties, if you go, the only people at the county party meetings are the ones running for office, and we need that, but we also need just the regular people. We need to have people leading our precincts, because precincts are small, almost down to about the size of a neighborhood. So people are developing their neighborhoods and getting to know the Democrats in their neighborhood. But you have to just start high. Again, it's the same as the trickle down economics. Trying to find a Kamala Harris or a Barack Obama that then helps everyone down below win. That's maybe a once in a lifetime. But by building up Democrats and getting a Democratic clerk and a Democratic sheriff and a Democratic town council in Bargersville, and that leads to maybe a Democratic um, treasurer in Franklin, and then in Greenwood they end up getting a Democratic mayor, and you get all these low spots that builds up to then,
Mhm.
oh, Democrats aren't so bad. Now we have a lot of support, and you get all those towns, those people come together to elect a representative, and
Mhm.
so forth. And then representatives run every 2 years. So if I have a good following, there's a good chance that uh, that they're also going to vote up ticket. So our federal offices and then our president. Much more likely that folks voting for me will vote similar up ticket than the same thing coming down. So
Yep, and that's just it. But that's what we do is we rebuild from the ground up. And this is one of the thought process I have is listen, again, forefathers, all of the writings they did. They talked about what to do if our federal government falls, if it becomes corrupt, if it is taken over by an authoritarian dictatorship regime, like we have right now. It's you take your power back on the states. You start at the bottom and you build it back up. You rebuild it by taking back control on the state level, and that's the clerks, that's the Senate, that's the Congress, that's the treasurers, that's the state secretary, that's all of those state level positions. That's where you start, because when you can get those restabilized, then the states actually start working for you and can start fighting the federal government on your behalf. That's how it's supposed to work.
yeah,
Right now, a lot of our representatives in, DC, they're not doing that. They're not fighting for us. They're letting him do whatever he wants, and they're just sitting there being patsies, going, "Well, we can't control him." Yeah, you could. You can very easily control him. Congress has the ability to control the president. Checks and balances, people. Checks and
certainly the
balances.
Republicans, do. I think a lot of the Democrats are doing things. It's just
They're
taking a
trying.
while because
Yeah.
a lot of the judges are Republican, so they're stalling and putting that off as and so it's hard. And the only recourse, you can be like, I don't like him, but that doesn't stop him. You have to go through the courts, and so um, and that just it takes so long. But you continue almost every day. You hear of another case that the Democrats have won to stop something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Of course, they don't know. He doesn't necessarily stop doing it, right?
Right.
He doesn't think he has to listen. The president being that way. So
Oh yeah, he's already stated international law does not apply to him.
yeah,
It's like, yes, it does. And one day you will
but
find dissent.
hey, I need to wrap this up. I have
Yeah.
another appointment coming up. But also for the folks on here that had mentioned, we're not for the people and whatnot. And which one was it? I think most voters being discouraged. They go unheard. I guess that was more the reference to it. So meow.
Yeah.
So here's my logo, and some of you may have seen this before. But that duck there in the middle, that's the actual district. That's not like some kind of duck logo that I made.
No, that is a duck.
That is
And it
the
is
gerrymandered district.
the
And
district.
I live over by the tail, and in Indianapolis is right up here. But I've kept this one. I'm a real big map dork, so I was pretty happy to be able to put a map on my as like part of my logo. But
I love it.
that's what's important to me. Right in the center is my district and the people, and that's what this is all about. Is the folks right here, and that's what matters to me. I like the spot I'm in because I really don't care. I have nothing to gain by being in politics, uh, except maybe some friends because I do good things for our community. Um, I'm not in it for money. I don't need fame. I don't need uh, accolades of any kind. I like my job. I like my family. We're in a good place. So we can spend time trying to advocate for our communities. And I say we, my wife is also running for office this cycle. So kind of doing it as a family. And, I just hope to, and I think we've already seen it just by running for office. We've been holding our Republican counterparts accountable. And I think we may not have seen the gerrymandering or the redistricting go the way it did, maybe just 2 years ago or 4 years ago. I think there's just been enough Democratic pressure from outside from all these candidates that are like finally saying, "I've had enough. If no one else is going to run, I'm going to run." And uh, and I think a few folks have felt that, and so we managed to put the brakes on there. And I think we can do more. So as these people stand up, we may not be the perfect candidate. We'll continue working on it, or I know I will continue working on it. But rally around the folks in your community. Donate if you can. It does take a little bit of money. It doesn't take millions at the state level, but it does take. I've been told 250,000. I think it's a little high. I think at about 50,000.
I was gonna say,
I did it. I ran last time and I had about 5,000. Now I didn't win. Um, I think I made a dent, and I think I held the line. We didn't backslide in Johnson County, but around 20, I'd say 20,000, 25,000 would be able to get some billboards and some of the mass mailers, some of the things that really can move the needle. Because one individual can only go meet so many people. We can only have so many conversations. Even this live, while it's hitting, I don't know how many people have come on through this. It's hitting a certain amount of people, and a certain amount will watch it after the fact. I don't know if you upload your stuff, but
it'll be on YouTube. I'll give a copy of it to you. I will be taking clips and posting them. So my goal is actually to help all of the people who come on and do interviews, to get them out there to as many people during this campaign, and even if they don't get the seat they're going for, I want to keep having them on and find out what's your next steps. What are you doing? Because even if not this time, then let me help you grow your base so next time you get it.
Yeah,
so next time we go out of the park. Because it's okay if I'm late in the game, so I know somebody else has been doing it since September, but I still want to help people. There's been almost 1,000 people who have come through and stayed, and the average watch time is about 2 minutes, which is good. That's a lot higher than my normal.
Well, and I liked it. I don't even know how I came across, probably through all the other politics, but I want to talk to as many niches as possible, right? Like, it doesn't need to always be a political platform. Matter of fact, I much more enjoy just having a conversation. We got to go off on some tangents on our life, and then we come back to some policy, and then, how does that affect me? And we go off, and then we come back to some other policy.
Exactly what we've been doing today, and how we tie it to our real lives. And again, tying it to my real life as to why I'm doing this, and it's to help you. So I will absolutely let you go. It's a little bit after 6. But I would like to have you back on. I will give you dates, here in about a month or so to get you rescheduled, and to kind of talk about the things that have developed over the next month. Some of the things we've talked about today. Okay, housing. That's definitely something there. Okay, if a lot of people are concerned about housing, let's start looking into some things that can be done in our state. I'll even research too. I love researching. But that's just one of those, like, okay, what can I do to help you come up with a better plan? Even if it's not what you go for. This is some of the stuff I've looked into and found. Would that be feasible? So that way you have a starting platform going, that's actually a good idea. Let's look into that. And well, that's not feasible, but this might be. Let's run with this. That's a good starting point. Because a lot of people were looking for answers. It's great that you have the problems, but we want solutions. And that's one of the things that people were asking for is, what's your solution? Because we all know what the problem is. It's great talking about the problem. Now, the next few ones is, let's start talking about some of those solutions to those problems. I love having people on. I want to talk about your platform, and then I want to talk about how you hope to go about achieving these goals. Because that is just as important as saying you have an idea, you have a dream. How are we going to achieve this dream? Because I'm a dreamer too. I will help every other dreamer. I've been told I want an ideal world. You're right. I do. I want an ideal world where I don't have to worry about when my kids leave my house, whether or not they're coming home. Yeah. That's the world I want to live in. That's not the world I live in. Because 3 years ago, my son's middle school had a shooting at it. Yeah. That's 2 blocks down the road from me. That's terrifying. But again, that goes to tie into everything that's going on in our state, everything that's going on in our country. And it ties into everything that's going on in our world. Because believe it or not, what's on the international stage affects us on the federal level, affects us on the state level, affects us at the pump, at the grocery store, and with our everyday expenses. And that's the other part is, Indiana, the Hoosiers, we only have a set finite amount of money. We're not getting more money from these corporations. We have to learn how to budget, and we are budgeting, and we're tightening our belts, and we can't tighten them anymore. Last summer, my husband and I, we were figuring out who was not eating that day so that our kids could make sure we had 3 meals. we should never be in that position. No family in Indiana should ever be in that position. And that's
No.
a problem because a lot of them are.
Not under the conditions we're in, right? This um, kind of split from the haves and the have-nots is artificial and man-made, and we can recalibrate that and get that, get the balance back into things.
No. And I love that. And I look forward to talking to you again. I'll let you go.
Yeah,
Like I
thank
said,
you so much for having me. This was great, and I'd be on anytime. So, thank you.
Love it. We will talk to you again soon, okay?
All right, thank you everyone for being on. I appreciate it.
Take
Bye.
care, Michael. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and hanging out with me and talking with Michael. He is running for Indiana's Congress, District 47. That's Shelbyville and Johnsonville, so it is in part of southern Indiana. So how's everybody doing? Y'all doing good? Love you bunches, too. Thank you for coming in and modding for me today, sweetheart. I appreciate it. But I have been on for over 3 hours. As you can tell, my voice is about ready to be shot. I'm going to hop off. I will be back tomorrow. I will have Aaron Petrie on. We will be streaming at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'll see you all then. Take care. Bye, guys.